Hello. Who's asking if we're broken? Lucy. Misleading evidence. I'm so sorry. We were just having a little a catch up. We're not broken though.
Sorry keeping everyone.
Everything's working. How
Hi,
are
Alicia.
you, everyone?
Alicia's there just as she said she would. Amazing. Not
I
amazing,
just
but
saw
thankfully.
she's a channel, so I've subscribed to your channel, Lizzie.
Yes.
We weren't even talking about the Idaho 4 case, but hello, everyone. Hello. We go off topic.
Yes, we did.
Every
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. So sorry to keep you waiting. Actually, by the way, hi, Big Amish from 30 minutes ago.
Yes. Hello again, and thank you, Wendy, for having me once again. It seems so long ago. Yesterday.
So long ago. You know, guys, if I say 5 minutes, then you know it could be 15 minutes. Just I need Lucy or somebody to come and make a comment like that and say, is this thing broken? So that I started laughing. That's what we needed. Okay.
Lucy,
We're not broken. Other people are broken.
Yes.
Oh,
The plea is broken.
The plea is broken. And what is this? So I did see that there was an attorney, the state-appointed attorney for Bryan Kohberger. Did you see that?
I did see that. The judge signed the order. I don't know if they actually pushed an attorney on him so quickly. Did they actually name the attorney?
Not that I know of. Let me have a look here quickly.
So the order, I remember I heard about the order being assigned by Judge Hippler. I believe it's Hippler. Someone
yes, he did. Let me see if I find it quickly. So today we are going to talk about Nancy, and I don't see it here. I didn't save it, but let's see. Gosh, why did it go there now? So I've got like a very, very bad quality picture.
Well, that's very telling.
All right, I'm just going to say, it says here, in the District Court of 4th Judicial District of the State of Idaho, in and for the county of, I can't read that. It says Bryan Kohberger, State of Idaho, order appointing counsel. And then it just gives the case number. Before the court is petition's motion for appointment of counsel in connection with his petition for post-conviction relief. Petitioner's motion for appointment of counsel is granted pursuant to Idaho Code 194904. The state public defender shall appoint counsel to represent petitioner in all post-conviction proceedings under case number CV. And then it said, it is so ordered, dated on this day, and Judge Stephen Hippler.
Okay, that's good news on one hand, depending, but and I don't think Judge Hippler really had a choice. But I'm glad he did this real quick, so he wants him appointed. And don't forget how much that attorney must have to review. We don't know the name of the attorney. I guess the public defender is going to appoint one.
I'm going to try and find a clearer picture for you. Then you can have a look at it. But and then I'll put it up. Before we go to Nancy Grace, you were saying to me.
Oh, well, this falls. Let me just say, based on what you read as well, but the appointment, the basic granting of that petition for an appointment of counsel through the public defender's office, right? I think this is either going to go very quickly. In other words, Judge Hippler is going to move this PCR very quickly, or it's going to be exaggerated. right?
Mhm.
It's going to be one. There's no middle ground. It's not going to be anything in the middle. It's either going to be very quick, and he's going to make rulings that are going to dispose of the case, or he's going to
Mhm.
allow everything in. I do think Judge Hippler has problems, and I'll explain why. Judge Hippler has a conflict, and I was telling Wendy in the background, Lucy and Alicia, I believe there's what we're looking at when we see the plea and no allocution, even if the Idaho code allows for it, for a plea where the allocution does not have to take place, no factual basis provided by the defendant, even though that might be acceptable. The fact is, there is no factual basis. That also helps him attack the plea. And it follows exactly what he's saying, both in his affidavit and in the New York Times statement. And thank you, Alicia. That's what was catching my eye on a couple of things. I realized there was the New York Times actual statement because of Alicia's
Yeah.
channel. And so there's and I'm creating a video on this, the presentation. I spent numerous hours on it thinking about it, but it's a de facto Alford plea. Even though there was no Alford plea taking, what is factually presented is a Alford plea, and that is maintaining your innocence, which he's doing now, right? While having accepted the punishment. If we understand that concept and then understand what he is attacking and using the IAC claim, the ineffective assistance of counsel claim, as the anchor, as the basis for his PCR claim, he then, which is recognized, IAC is the way to do a PCR. It's the hook. From there, you could branch off and get into some other side issues, but it allows that PCR to be effective for the claim to proceed. And when we looked at that affidavit yesterday, it had the elements. I mean, he's raising certain issues, whether it's with witnesses, but how he was coerced. Now you could kind of understand it. He was coerced. He believed by, and he maintained his innocence. You could plead guilty, but still maintain your innocence. I'm using a de facto style of an Alford plea.
Mhm.
And where was I going with this? So his lack of an allocution, even though it's allowed by Idaho criminal code, what it now provides is a basis for and supportive basis, exactly what BK is talking about, because he never gave that allocution. And who was the judge this happened before? Judge Hippler. What has Steve G said and others? That there was an Alford plea negotiations, and they happened before Judge Hippler, and bam, right there you have a conflict. How is the judge who is handling the PCR going to be presiding over issues where he is a witness himself, potentially? If that is the case, you have a conflict. Judge Hippler gets removed. He gets recused, and that's going to come up fairly quickly. Now, this is what we're kind of talking yesterday. The appointed counsel, what is that appointed counsel going to do? Is he going to take, first off, is Hippler going to do this on his own, recuse himself? I don't know if anyone's, let me know if anyone in the chat is commenting yet, but if,
Not yet.
okay, so if Hippler recuses himself, you got a new judge. And that's going to take a long time for someone to get up to speed on these issues. But they could stick a new judge in there, and that judge would basically set a scheduling and try to get up to speed, right? Because we have a lot of information, a lot of documents that need to be reviewed. And that also holds true for the appointed counsel. And does that now appointed counsel, do they have any cases before Judge Hippler? So they could be recused. If Judge Hippler doesn't recuse himself, the attorneys or BK has to seek a recusal. Now, are they going to do that? I think they should. But to me, there's a conflict of interest that's set in stone, that based on what we're hearing, right? We're hearing when Steve G's and others, if they talk about an Alford plea, and if the Judge Hippler himself was involved, whether it's in the negotiations, the plea negotiations, which we got to take some of this as true, because why is it coming out? And if it's not true, it's okay for BK and his attorneys to rely on it. You could take what's out in the public and use it as a recusal basis. You see, again, you could use what's publicly made available now, which maybe wasn't available before, and use it. And that's where his family members also come into play. So there's a lot. We talked about trolling yesterday. There's a lot here to kind of look at and really see what's going on. And there's so much, could it be going on? Maybe, likely. But the objective fact is that if Judge Hippler was involved in the plea negotiations, he's going to get recused one way or the other, unless they're okay with it. If BK's okay with it, that has to come up, though, and addressed. But if the client is okay with it, that proceeds. They just have to get the consent to going forward and everything else with counsel. But I just see problems and delay problems that are going to happen. So to me, how Judge Hippler would love this case to be over as quickly as possible, because it gets off his hands, and he would love to use the Rule 11 plea waiver as the basis. But because of what we're hearing, and that's why he signed this right away.
Okay, I've put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I see it. And you see now, because if Judge Hippler was involved in the plea negotiations, why he would sign something so quickly. He has to, because he's now a witness potentially in vacating the plea. Brilliant move. If that's the case. Again, I don't know. I'm just basing it on statements that we're hearing, out of court statements that we're hearing in the public. So what do you think about that? What's your thoughts, Wendy? Does that kind of
My thought is, how long would it take? Let's say now there is a new judge that's appointed. How long, as we did mention this, how long is it going to take for him to catch up on all the information of the case?
Well, it depends if they want to be thorough, right? So the reason it goes usually to the trial judges, because they have all that experience, the underlying experience of what happened below, right? Now they're in a civil proceeding, but that helps. That's why you usually have that same judge being appointed. Now, if there's a recusal issue, a conflict, it could be waived. Okay, assuming it's not waived, he's removed, and they appoint somebody else. Does that attorney have to review everything? No, he only needs to review what's before him. So what's before him is that PCR, is the plea agreement. And at this stage, there's no evidentiary hearings being held. There's no discovery being allowed yet. So this new judge could look at the PCR that's been filed, and that judge, even though we disagree, I believe there's enough factual statements there, and if you look at it under a liberal construction standard, it meets passing this initial stage. However, a judge could disagree, I think wrongfully. So if a new judge takes it, and if they want to dispose of the case, they could they could dispose of the case. They could allow a counsel to come in, which, I don't know when that's going to happen, but the new judge could look at this
Mhm.
and dispose of it, saying, I could dispose of it, even allowing for a new counsel to come in, and possibly
Mhm.
could they overturn appointing new counsel? I don't know. That could be something that the new judge could look at and say, wait, I looked at this. I don't agree with appointing counsel for BK. I'm going to rescind, void basically the order and issue a new order that I find the claims made by BK pro se, they
Mhm.
do not meet the standard, and I'm summarily dismissing the case, the claim. A new judge could theoretically do that.
Okay, what happens if he does that?
So then, if he dismisses it, then he goes one of two ways. He goes to the appellate court to seek. I think it's the Supreme Court of Idaho. I'll just use that. I believe that's
Okay.
the. But they go to the higher appellate court to basically vacate that ruling. Now, you could also file a writ of certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay, usually you wait to exhaust your state remedies, so going to the appellate court, but you don't have to. You could actually file a writ of certiorari petitioning the Supreme Court U.S. Supreme Court to review your case. Now, they don't have to take it right away. They could say, well, we'll just wait. And so what happens is you then continue on at the Supreme Court of Idaho, raising the issue of you dismissed my PCR, all right, based on the issues that I raised. And then it goes to a federal habeas, assuming the state Supreme Court does nothing, and then it goes to a federal habeas. Now you're in federal court, and then you have to channel that process. But the federal habeas, the importance of why and what we talked about yesterday is basically preserving the record at this level, the PCR level, is what BK did with his affidavit. There's all these public statements that are out there now that you could rely on as evidence. There's going to be packing. You could use that. You could use those public statements to support your PCR petition. And I believe that's exactly what's happening in the background somehow. And you don't know. So preserving the record and making arguments here, just like we're making, the recusal of Judge Hippler, all of these things play a role in vacating the plea. And ultimately, is it a miscarriage of justice under Hunter v. U.S.? We talked about it. You can't have, federal court, something unconstitutional in federal court cannot be constitutional in state court. But once you're in the federal district court, those issues come up. And now there's any critic before has to realize that no matter what you thought of before, it now is in play. Hippler has an oath under the federal Constitution, an oath he took to protect the Constitution, specifically the miscarriage of justice that falls in his lap. So his recusal, he's now a witness. So there's a lot of things that that play out, right? You have a judge being recused not because of a conflict externally or a family member or having reason. He was actually involved in the plea negotiations. And according to some, I forgot who it was, could have been Steve G, or that it was Hippler himself who was forcing the negotiations. Talk about a miscarriage of justice when the defendant is talking about being innocent, no allocution. How did that get negotiated? Raises a lot of questions. And then you have, don't forget, Ann Taylor, who said I would be ineffective as counsel with that dump. And to her word, she will provide an affidavit for it. It's in the record. So do you actually need an affidavit from her to state that? that would be helpful, maybe as a declaration. All she has to do is point that out, that she was ineffective. This data dump provided us no time, unindexed information, that I could manage it and properly inform the client. But because the executioners were sharpening their knives, and in this case, their rifles, right? They moved the death penalty by death by firing squad, moved right to the head of the line. And the ability of a governor to move a person on death row to the front of the line also should play a role. That's what he was weighing. He's being coerced. I could see it now. This is coercion. I mean, and you could see everything unraveling. And also, when you see experts attacking each other, or BK, for example, saying a clump of hair versus, is that Turvey? Where was he getting that information from? Was he relying on Turvey? And don't forget, these experts can wear different hats. Just because the expert was designated and used for motions purposes, for trial purposes, doesn't mean that expert does not have other qualified expertise in other areas where they could opine on and used to assist a client, which is BK. So the different expertise of whether it's Turvey, whether it's Cyray, could be used and would be used, in my opinion, if you're an attorney. And again, this is not legal advice. This is just commentary and analysis based on my opinion of things. But using the multiple expert qualifications of an expert, even if it's in different areas, to assist you is almost a guarantee you do that. You just don't simply use somebody for issue, let's say issue X, issue of the cell tower records. If that individual also has expertise in other area, whether it's crime scene analysis, whatever it is, if it is helpful in the analysis for you to address issues in the case that supports the best interest of your client, that's what you do. And it seems that's exactly what Cyray and Brent Turvey have. They have other qualifications and expertise in other areas. The same with Mr. Wickham. As much, we don't have to like these individuals, but they do have expertise in other areas. And would an attorney use those different expertise in providing an analysis or inform their client? Of course they would. And it would be used. There's no doubt. That's what competent counsel should do. You just don't ignore their expertise in other areas when those issues are relevant in your case. And sometimes you use one expert against the other on a collateral expertise area, a collateral knowledgeable area that they have an expertise in. You use them to find the truth. What makes truth to your case in your defense? So you would use these experts in different ways to come to some sort of conclusion on how to approach a legal issue. Again, so I hope that makes sense, where you just don't rely on someone's sole expertise if they have such additional knowledge and expertise in other areas that are issues in your case. You do not ignore that, in my opinion. And it wasn't ignored, because I think you're seeing that come out as well.
Yeah,
experts are attacking each other, but ultimately, why are they attacking each other? It all goes to the issue that the assistance of counsel, the effectiveness of counsel was not effective.
Yes.
That's what it all goes to. Whether you could blame, it doesn't matter who you blame, it's present. There's a destruction of the defense team that's happened, right? They're all pointing fingers, and that's great for BK, because ultimately that's a standard and the type of witnesses you need to support your ineffective assistance of counsel claim. So With that
Correct.
said, does
That
anyone?
does make sense. Huge fallout.
What's that? Yeah, huge fallout is right. So
Huge fallout because it kind of gives him the exact ammunition he needs for this post-conviction relief petition.
yeah, but do you see the issue for now Hitler goes in the crosshairs?
Mm-hmm.
If even if it's not true, right? But if it's not true, you need an evidentiary hearing in order to determine that. You could use Steve G. And again, I can't help but think how involved the G's are in helping BK, but also at the same time attacking him on different things. But you can't
When you
ignore what you're
say
seeing.
when you say helping him,
Yeah.
would they be willingly helping him,
Well,
or
they could subpoena. They made statements
Mhm.
in public that affect the current judge from hearing the PCR case. You
Yes.
have a biased judge. You have a witness to the plea negotiations, the exact issue that is in play in the PCR. You can't ask for something better. And you're going to use a victim family member to do that? That's like genius.
Yep. No, what I meant is they don't know how this is going to play out. Do you think they're aware of it, the Gonsalves family?
I, I, yes, I don't think
You
you
think
make
so?
these are not mistakes. Yeah, because it ultimately affects his WSU lawsuit. If there is a de facto, here's some great content for people that could use. If there is a de facto, what I call Alfred plea, that affects the WSU lawsuit. So, one way or
I
another,
think
that
so.
affects it. Uh, so much different where you could use a standard plea, and that could be argued, but I'm just reading. I could be totally wrong on a de facto Alfred plea, but my research into the last night and developing a presentation on this is that it's plausible what I'm saying. It's de facto in the sense that there's no allocution. There is missing facts. How Judge Hippler corroborated or provided that factual basis, I can't recall. I'm going to have to, that's part of my last part of my research from last
Mhm.
night, is to see how that was done. What, who was used as a witness or police reports? What was used as the basis for that, the non-allocution, but for the judge to be comfortable with the facts to sentence BK. That's the plea agreement. So that's missing. It's missing from BK, right? Usually that's why you force an allocution because structurally the facts are admitted by the defendant. You don't have that here. It's never admitted by the defendant. He pled
Mhm.
guilty. So he pled guilty to the punishment. He accepted the punishment. But he never said, I did this because, and this is the way I did it.
No reason you. So Lucy said here something interesting. WSU would be smart to privately fund the current events.
Maybe. Yeah. As far as current events with the G's, I guess if that, yeah, look, if WSU, the state of Washington, for that matter, it's not just because that's where it's going to come out of the coffers. Um,
Mhm.
do they have a vested interest? Sure, but there's also not to we're getting into my and just to push further on this. Let me just say this. The In order to get the discovery is very critical here. And what discovery? Lucy's talked about it. We've talked about it. Misleading. The raw data, the
Mhm.
information, the analysts used by the FBI that's being hidden. If that is exposed and you find out two things, one is BK's real role as a federal asset, right? But who was the real perpetrator? What were the real crimes?
Yeah.
Right? It behooves Steve G to actually open this door this way, very subtly, without attacking the FBI. If he by saying what he's saying about Hitler, these subtle facts that we're seeing, they're not so subtle. They're actually, why is he saying this? But if you push it, he's really helping BK open up this door and helping Ann Taylor overcome that motion to suppress. Finally, in this arena now, at these stages, he's opening up that door, and you got to read in between the lines what he's saying. So Judge Hitler being involved, right? Steve G saying that in plea negotiations, that there's evidence that he's not seen, right? That's coming out, or that he believes is in that terror dump. I forgot how he phrased it. We'll look it over again. I do. So all of this is pointing to exposing the federal hand.
Yeah. True what Kelly's saying here, part of an ongoing investigation. They do say that a lot.
Yeah, that is the great part about it. Yes, an ongoing investigation, national security, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. But now you have, once you get into federal habeas, once you get before the Supreme Court, remember I said I did a presentation, I have a video on the road to SCOTUS. Once you're before the Supreme Court, guess what they have the power to do? They have the power to expose that national security issue or ongoing investigation, right? Because you now have the executive branch, a three-part branch of a government, the executive branch, judiciary branch, sorry, overlooking and has oversight on exactly this issue and could open up the door. So we're getting far afield. I don't want to go to it, but every door opens. I'm sorry. This is.
I'm gonna just remove this from the screen.
Yeah, I wish I was, more, involved earlier and much more, looking at so many things, but I'm not. I'm here where I am, but I can at least opine as to what I'm seeing and the avenues that are opening up. And when someone makes a statement like this in public, and who has the ability to go public? Steve G seems like he could just go whenever he wants and make a statement, like he's like the president. He can just say whenever he go on, and he's covered. So people might say, okay, well that's because he's his family was victimized, and so was he because of the crimes, and that is true. Can't ignore that. But I also can't ignore what he's saying and how it impacts the case, and how, it's not just attack BK. By him saying, let me just say, by him, the G's talked about the death squad, right? The firing squad and the death penalty. By doing that, it again helps BK. Because what's so frightening? What would frighten you to enter into a plea agreement? It's being shot to death. Oh, don't. So again, I'm just brainstorming with this stuff. I wish I would be more attacking on it, but that's what it's telling me. It's all helpful for BK. Don't fall for. I'm looking at it in a lens of how to help BK's rights. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm not making any judgment calls as to what the G's really intend or not. I'm just looking at this, how to help BK, get the PCR ruling that he needs, which is to vacate the plea. And if it's not at the PCR level, at the state level, you'll have it at the federal level. And you need these type of facts to come out, these statements to come out, whether it's Steve G or anyone else. that would support that remedy under a
Yes.
miscarriage of justice standard and the like. But that's what I'm saying.
Very good. Yeah, very interesting. Just before we go to the video, did any of you watch or start watching the new series out on Netflix?
Oh yeah, I didn't see the Netflix, but I do have Netflix. I'll watch that. That can be maybe
Yeah,
something
I
else.
started watching it last night. I almost think that that also plays into it because a few minutes in and you start seeing a lot of loopholes.
Oh,
The
they get into
timing,
loopholes.
no, they don't. But just observing what they're saying about the case, even somebody who hasn't. I mean, I saw people online commenting that have never really gotten into the weeds of the case, commenting and saying, just after watching the first episode, that a lot of things don't make sense.
They don't. So
So I
we're
don't know
what?
if the series was designed that way. Hi, Love and Other Habits. That's also a good name. Johnny, how are you? Hi, everyone. Just
Yes,
trying to keep my
hello.
eye on the chat.
Yes, hello, love. Oh, and again, off the top of my head again. Here we go. We talked about the federal grand jury subpoenas, right? What if there was a sealed indictment? It still exists. That
Mhm.
federal crime that they were investigating, what was it? This goes back to an issue you raised because it's
Yeah.
bigger than just even, it's bigger than frats. It's bigger than even possibly cartels. And what
Oh, way
makes
bigger.
sense is the human trafficking element. Now, it may consist of those, but it doesn't stop at their doorstep, in my opinion. I think human trafficking could be a very big issue, and or the crypto issue, which may involve, you
Well,
know,
the two
administrative,
go hand in hand, crypto and human
yes,
trafficking.
and the cartel business. Sure,
Mhm.
absolutely. They all go hand. And that's why, is this something that they're hiding? Is this something that Steve G is alerting us to and his involvement? I'm just reading things. I have no clue, but I do think we have to probe into these areas. And Lucy may have. So I don't know. If she says something
There's
about
a
this, please.
few very good videos of Lucy that we can also play later, but I think we could also play them, not today, but we definitely will. Lucy, just you can also send me some of yours that you think are very informative. Love and Other Habits asked, what kind of promises could have been made to sway him to plead false promises? It sounds shallowish. Can you see that comment?
Put my glasses on. But okay, what kind of promises could have been made to him? Okay, so you have Ann Taylor raising Judge Hippler being involved in the negotiations as well. Um, I don't know. The easy answer. But if he is, I also have speculated. Was he a is he a federal asset? Does he have a federal security clearance? In my opinion, that's very plausible. Could it be promises regarding his his future? Right? I don't know. Um, but the promises, we'd have to look back at the affidavit as well. I mean, what does he say? He was coerced. What promises
Mhm.
from Ann Taylor? Ann Taylor could have said, "Look, if you enter into this agreement, or the promises were, we're going to keep you alive, right? You're not going to face the death penalty. You're not going to face the firing squad immediately." But what did Olivia do at the date of sentencing? She basically painted him as a PDF, which would
Mhm.
expose him to a death penalty in prison
Yes.
by other inmates. So,
Yes.
there's a lot here that he didn't expect, and I'm trying to wear different hats, and I wish
Hmm.
I could invest more time, and I should, and I will invest more time.
He
But
was one
these are
of
the,
one of
yeah,
the suspects that that they had insights, which is probably likely, then he might have taken that promise that will keep you alive. But he was not expecting that at sentencing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Yes. You should elaborate even more. And I'm just trying to look over here as far as and what other promises? If we think that Cartel or even Aryan
I
Nights or
think that is very important because that was the thing that swayed me on
yes,
it, especially I could have accepted that he took the plea deal,
right,
but when Olivia got up and made that statement, I,
yes,
yeah, that was it for me. That's what convinced me something else is going on in this case.
yeah. That again, it's those red flags, just like Steve G making comments, Olivia making that comment forces
Mhm.
a warden or forces the ability to put you in a PCU unit, right? So that protective custody unit.
Yeah.
So that's where it puts him. So he's out of basically the general population, and he's in this protective unit. Now, is he in WITSEC and the like? I don't want to elaborate on that stuff. I don't know, but that raised the question for me. But it provides the factual basis to get him into a PCU unit when someone makes that statement.
I think so.
And you're right.
And Banfield originally said that he was going to just be in a private unit for, I think it was, I'd have to go back on that, but she said something like an integration period of maybe 6 months, but we're a year down the line. So
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. I just. What was your last comment? I'm sorry.
she said
Yeah.
that they were going to have him separate just for maybe a period of either it was 6 weeks or 6 months. And then he would go to general population. But that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's more than a year. So uh so
Yeah,
it's
there's
true.
ongoing death threats, I'm sure,
Yes, love
leaving
and
him.
other habits as well. Look into his internship. That is very interesting, of course, because if you look at what he was studying, then for sure you have to look at all those things.
Who mentioned the internship? Because
Love and other habits. I just
uh,
put it on the screen.
okay, yeah, I see it here. You're absolutely right, Love and Habits. I actually have, and I've been saying this for 2 weeks now, but I keep then developing new content, and I never get it out there. I have a very lengthy video, not very lengthy, but a lengthy video regarding BK having a federal top secret security clearance and how that works, not just through the internship with the Pullman PD. It's bigger than that. It directly puts him, at least that is my conclusion on it, of a plausible reason how he has a top secret security clearance. And I
Can't wait to
promise to,
see that.
yeah, yes.
That one is that one on your channel?
What's that? No, I have not put it out. I talked about, no,
Okay.
I have that. I have the road to SCOTUS, and then the de facto Alford plea and the recusal of Hitler. That's combined. So there's 3 videos that I promise. One of them has to come out if my wife doesn't take all my time away this evening. But I'll get that out one, but certainly by the weekend, all 3 should be out.
No stress. You'll do it when you have time. Okay, do you guys want to let okay, let's weigh in on this video. Are you good to do that, Big Amish?
Yeah,
Or you've
let's
got
go.
that?
Let's go right into it.
Okay, we just add it. Can you guys see? You see Madam Fluffles? I've got her up. All right.
Sheila, I I think she's perfect for Halloween. She really is. She could sell a lot of masks.
What am I doing here? Sorry. I have got it up. Sorry. That pressing buttons. Okay, let's go.
Right. 4 times.
Before Big Amish, just if you have to go, just pop me a message, okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good. We're good. So
I'm convicted killer, Bryan Kohberger. Do you remember the 4 beautiful, sleeping University of Idaho students that were slaughtered
Sleeping.
yeah,
in their beds? That Bryan Kohberger tonight says, I'm innocent. And he wants to take back his guilty plea. Whoa. Bryan Kohberger now says they tricked me into pleading guilty. I know I stood up in court and I said I did it, but I didn't do it. And that's my truth. He actually fixed his mouth to say, it's my truth. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
Smart investing builds wealth. Imagine investing 1,000 Rand every month for 5 years. Over 5 years, your total...
What in the HELL?
It is despicable, and I cannot believe we're having to talk about him now.
4-time convicted killer Bryan Kohberger now claims he's innocent.
Because he's saying, basically, they lied to him.
Tell me what's going on. One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night and she not wake me up. Okay. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. Hi, and are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to.
that sounds different a little bit.
It does. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I don't know if it was
You
mine.
all hear okay?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. Play again.
Keep the phone. Stop passing it around. Can I just tell you what happened pretty much? What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now? I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out? Yeah, I'll come. Come on, but we gotta go check. But we have to.
They were not passed out. They were all dead at the hands of Bryan Kohberger. And tonight, to further twist the families, he says he's innocent and he wants a trial. And you know what I say to that, Mrs. Gonsalves? Bring it on. I agree with him about one thing, Christy. Bryan Kohberger says in his handwritten petition, justice was not served. True words were never spoken. Justice was not served because he needs the death penalty.
Absolutely.
So he's right. There's one phrase in this whole...
Get him.
Here we come back to what you're saying. This is what they used to scare the living daylights out of him.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. If you get what you want, yeah, you're going to go before a federal firing squad. So
That's what they're saying here.
yes.
petition that is accurate. Okay, with me, you know them well. They are the founders of Murder Has a Name. This is in their beautiful daughter Kelly Gonsalves' memory, in her honor. She was murdered by Bryan Kohberger. And they are taking that pain and transforming it into something good, raising money for DNA kits to be handled and processed to stop killers and get them off the street before more victims fall
What a load of rubbish.
prey. Christy is with us. Steve Gonsalves is with us. Christy, when did you find out Bryan Kohberger, that POS, technical legal term, says, I'm innocent, I was tricked? I love this part, Christy, that he was misled about life behind bars. Surprise, jail ain't what it's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
He figured that out, didn't he?
Yeah.
When did you find out about this?
I found out pretty early on, about an hour before it started busting at the seams on the media. Steve had called me, and I was in the middle of a Zoom meeting for Murder Has a Name, and I was like, Steve's telling me, call me right away, call me now, and I'm like, I gotta go. Like, he doesn't say that. And I called him, and he told me, and I was like, what is happening? So took us a minute to find out what exactly the allegations that he was having and the reasons for it. But when we heard, we were like, the judge asked you every single one of those questions, So were you coerced? Were you promised anything? Were you on drugs? And everything. And I mean, it's a plea deal. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think the average IQ person can understand what a plea deal is. It's not something super complicated.
Mhm.
So
Hold on. I've got to get to Steve Gonsalves, but I just have to ask Nima Romani, guys. When this first broke, I immediately got on the horn with Romani. Why?
Misleading evidence. She needs a tissue.
Yes.
Sorry.
They just want to paint a certain narrative, and
She's
it's
so
coming across.
animated, this woman. And yeah, very theatrical.
He looks
He
just
knows
like a villain.
what he's talking about, and we
Sorry?
hashed it through.
Sorry.
No,
what's
saying
that?
she when you had her on the freeze frame before, she looks just like a villain, a character. But yes,
Nima Romani, former federal prosecutor turned trial lawyer, former president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, author of Harvard to Hashtag. You can find him at westcoasttriallawyers.com. Nima, this is doable. After you and I talked, I researched the law again, and it confirmed what you and I had talked about. Let me get my notes. Garza v. Idaho, straight out of Idaho, and that is the Supremes. You remember at the time, they kept saying, he's giving up his right to appeal. This plea deal means it's over forever. I'm like, no, it's not. I don't care what he says. He can always appeal under the Sixth Amendment. There's always an argument to be made that he was tricked. He was hoodwinked. He didn't know what was happening. Ineffective assistance of counsel. Yes, but no, that's what they told the victims in court. That was BS. Then we called it, and I'm calling it again. Yes, he can do this. He can appeal his guilty plea. Then Hill v. Lockhart, also the Supremes, about how you can reverse a guilty plea. But practically speaking, Nima, what the hey is going on?
Yeah, he's got to basically pigeonhole this petition into one of really four legal arguments. He's got to argue that the plea wasn't knowing and voluntary. I think it's going to be tough
Listen
because
to this.
obviously we all heard the plea colloquy, right?
Let me see, Nima. Nima, he's getting his PhD in criminology.
I think that's going to be the toughest one.
It was
right?
knowing. Next.
Yeah.
That's out.
So then-
I wrote it
yeah,
down. I'm
so-
marking it out.
So let's put that away. The second is if he's actually innocent. Obviously, that's not going to fly either. There's no way the state is going to concede that. But that's what happened with.
I'm sorry. I just choked.
Yeah.
That didn't go down very well. Okay, we can count out
Okay.
actual innocence too. Okay, that's
Okay,
out.
so
Give me your
we
third
scratch that
choice.
Yeah, the third is prosecutorial misconduct, right? And of course, the state is never going to concede that they withheld Brady information or something that was impeachment. They didn't comply with their obligations. There's no way the state's going to concede that. So then you're really left with the last one, which is the ineffective assistance of counsel, right? That's something Ann Taylor said or did that was.
Put them up real quick.
There they go. You see?
yeah, no, so it's exactly what she said in court, and that's the main one. That's where a lot of case law is, and that's why it's the most supportive one. You could then go in from ineffective assistance of counsel to address the plea. See, you just need to anchor a core claim that could be anchored. And real quick, just to go back to Love and Other Habits, she asked what other I think that's who asked about the promises. Well, if Ann Taylor was explaining the promise of, look, the promises would be regarding how death row is, right? And that you would be avoiding basically an execution. But he might be having death threats all the time now. We don't know. I'm just saying there could be things in here. There could be from the Aryan Knights, there could be an actual hit being placed on him, and it's being circulated around in the jail that he is to be terminated. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but
Yeah,
if you go
it all comes from that statement that Olivia Gonzalez made, right?
Yes.
It could come from that, but I think somehow it also comes from a lot of these media channels that have
Well, they fuel it.
overexposed this case.
Yes. You've heard it in other cases, how the media, right? They shut down. You shouldn't be able to say this because you entice, you're right. You basically entice someone to take action. We see that in the political front with J6 and the like politically. So if that's there and that's been raised, why isn't it relevant here? So why couldn't the same media be causing a potential threat on BK's life? And
Well,
they do.
pretty much on every single channel, anybody who comments will always say they're wishing for prison justice.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it just keeps getting repeated. And when he took that deal, that could have been one of the promises that, okay, your life is going to be spared. But he wasn't anticipating this. And we've seen multiple people make threats against him, even publicly.
He's probably, his argument is going to be, or his statement's going to be, I feel like someone's going to kill me every minute when I close my eyes. I mean, think about it. You're in a cell and you're being hunted, whether you're because they think you're a PDF or because of who you are, and it involves cartels or AKs or the like, or just from mass media putting it out that he's an evil person, which, he did take a plea and that they'll believe it. He's claiming his innocence now, but that's what his daily life is. If we think about his daily life, is it really better than a firing squad? That's kind of the argument.
Okay, let's have a look. Sorry, what's going on with my little buttons here?
I'm sorry, too. I'm having a little bit of chocolate when we speak.
That's okay.
Nima, that's it. That's where they're going. Because
I love that, Dan.
From what I can gather from this raggedy petition, he's claiming Brady v. Maryland exculpatory material, evidence that would tend to prove him innocent or could prove him innocent. It could be something as simple as a line of cross-examination of a state's witness. And if the defense didn't know about it, then that could have made a difference in whether the jury believed the witness. There's all sorts of permutations about what is exculpatory. He seems to be claiming that the defense withheld Brady material from their own client, that he didn't understand all of the exculpatory evidence. He's going with ineffective and the SOD. Some other dude did it. That's where he's going.
So then the question is, what are his lawyers in the state going to say? I can't see any world where the prosecution is going to admit to withholding Brady evidence. So the question is, did his lawyers not provide it to him? Are they going to confess error? If they do, and they fall on the sword, then potentially we would have to start this over. The question is, though, I don't think his lawyers are going to do that. This was an amazing deal for him. They saved his life. That's what.
If they think there is a way to get him a new trial, I've seen the best lawyers in town go in court and go, okay, I was ineffective, to help their client. Were they ineffective? No, they were not. But they'll say it in a further.
Yeah.
She's saying what you predicted.
Yeah, but that's the reality. I mean, that is true. So I don't, but yes. But you don't have to lie to also telling the truth could also provide ineffective assistance of counsel. But yeah, she's already painting a picture. Oh, someone will lie but it happens. Yes, they lie, but also telling the truth is all just as important, if not. Oh, and okay. I was just going to raise one issue, because I don't know if that when you take the plea, you don't waive your right to the Sixth Amendment, right to effective counsel, but you also don't waive your right to the structural truth of a plea agreement, right? The meeting of the minds. Remember we talked about that yesterday, the meeting of the minds of a plea. So all these terms and issues come into play, and don't forget, BK never provided an allocution.
Yeah, they're going to bring this up now as well.
Oh, okay.
Did to help their client. And you know what I want to happen? I want him to get his wish. Straight up to Steve Gonsalves. This is Kelly Gonsalves' father, co-founder of Murder Has a Name. Please look it up. Steve, I want the state, of course, you got to have an independent prosecutor. You can't have that bag of bones up there trying to try this case. That's out. That's over. But I want them to give him his wish. You want any trial? Fine. We have regretted the plea ever since we did it. And here's our chance. Why can't we do that, Steve?
I don't know. What do we get? Like 90% of capital cases go out on a plea, and we never make case law. I would love for this to be case law in Idaho. And, we got the firing squad. Let it be. I'm very confident.
There we go.
I mean,
The evidence.
he's an idiot. I mean, the amount of you got to see the way that they had his vehicle mapped out with all those cameras. It was going to be powerful. They were literally going to be able to prove that the phone and that car were traveling together and tie it all. So yeah, stand by. Let's put holes in him. Let's shoot him. He's done.
Please take him to trial. Give him his wish. Straight out to Nate Eaton. He's the news director at East Idaho News.
Sorry, my little button takes a bit of I don't know what's going on with this thing. Sorry.
No,
guys, just tell me that they couldn't. We spoke about this yesterday. They were going to be able to, but they couldn't.
Well, don't forget what Cyré said, which I believe, based on what Hippler's rulings were. If they allow, usually a judge has to be, the fairness of a judge, in this context, if you're going to allow flawed evidence into trial that affects a defendant's liberty interest and his life, that's wrong. It's unconstitutional. But that's basically what Steve G is saying. I saw this. Now, is it reliable? Should it ever be admitted under a reasonable judge? I would say no. Hippler was allowing it in. And therefore, if you allow it in and you limit what could be cross-examined, i.e., can you go into the data that's missing, the data that's been hidden because of the federal involvement? Hippler would not allow it. He already ruled on it. So yes, under those circumstances, I do believe that BK faced a massive burden to overcome, because that all gets admitted and the state gets to paint whatever picture they want on that evidence. And the juries, that's what they're going to hear. And it'll be held by Hippler. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. You just tell me if you want me to start.
Yep.
It's like we said yesterday, it's like watching you don't want to watch her, but it's like watching a car accident. You can't look away.
Emmy nominated journalist, host of Courtroom Insider on YouTube. He has been on this case from the beginning. Nate Eaton, is this guy actually claiming fabricated horror that they showed him a photo of inside a death row cell and said, you better plead? The guy is getting his PhD in criminology. Nobody made him do anything, did they?
No, but what's interesting to me, Nancy, is you talk about how he says prison isn't what he expected. In his statement, he said the public is demanding the truth. I'm curious to know which public out there he's talking about, that there's unanswered questions with each new piece of evidence unsealed. Steve mentioned the car, the surveillance footage of his white Elantra that was caught on camera at the home within minutes of, before the students were killed and after. What about the K-bar knife sheath? Remember, that was left behind and DNA tracked to Bryan Kohberger. Not only that, he had purchased it on Amazon, a K-bar knife sheath. So the evidence that we have seen has led directly to Bryan Kohberger. I don't know what other evidence he's talking about. He didn't detail it in his
I
statement.
had to look at the stat last night, Nate Eaton. It was 5.37 octillion to 1 likelihood that it was anybody else's DNA on the murder weapon knife sheath.
We covered this already, so I don't think we have to go over how deceptive they were with the trash pool, because they didn't tie it to him.
Correct. They didn't, until the amplification of the touch DNA, the skin cells, amplification in which involved AI algorithms, which algorithms were not provided to defense counsel. So, right, because every piece of evidence, you have to be able to cross-examine everyone who touched it and analyzed it. So you have problems there. That's clear.
Too many. We could go on for 3 hours on that, because
there's a lot. But Sister Blue asked, there was one question she mentioned, that Judge Hippler doesn't have the power to compel the feds, the FBI, when I was talking about, exposing the federal hand. Well, don't forget, Ann Taylor filed a motion to suppress and a motion to compel. The motion to suppress was that the feds were actually behind all of this, and that the state's probable cause was developed based on everything the feds did. They were just mirroring what the feds wanted them to do, so the feds were not exposed as the real sovereign, charging or forcing the state to follow their lead and charge BK and the conviction. The motion to compel sought those underlying documents or information, whether it's from the raw data from CyRay asking the rest of Nick Balance's missing data. That was never given. The subpoenas that we talked about, the federal grand jury subpoenas, which would have a ton of information. For example, the federal crime that's being investigated, possibly others being investigated, in addition to Bryan Kohberger, and what they were looking for. But because Judge Hippler shut that down and said the FBI, the feds were in basically a support role. Okay? Because if he said the opposite, if he said, oh, well, the feds were the actual ones, you have parallel proceedings, the case is over, right? Then it forces the feds to take the case and initiate charges on their end, or unseal the sealed criminal indictment if there was one. So Bluebird, I hope you see what I'm saying, that technically Ann Taylor has to ask the state, because the state is the sovereign prosecuting the case, and he has limitations. He can't force the FBI to do it. He could tell the state to do it, and if the state can't get that information from the FBI, then you have a problem. There's a defect, and the case would have been dismissed. And also the feds wouldn't want this to be known. So there would have been a dismissal at that stage. The state case would have been over. So technically, Judge Hippler did not have the power to force the feds to hand it over, but he does have the power to force the state to get that information And if they can't get that information, then it's a violation of due process, and the case would be over because the defense does not have the material, the ability to cross-examine the underlying raw data and information. Right? Does that make sense? I hope it does.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, it's my understanding, hold on, Joe Scott, here I come. It's my understanding Kohberger is stating that there was a, quote, clump of hair in one of the victim's hands and that it suggested another defendant. What I've read elsewhere, and I'm going to confirm this with Christy and Steve Gonsalves, there was one hair that was found that belonged to somebody else. I don't know where that one hair was, but we all know it was the party house. You got 4 co-eds living together. I would be shocked if there weren't parties at their house. There'd be something wrong if there weren't parties at their house. So there's another hair. But his DNA is on the knife sheath. His phone was quieted. He ordered the K-bar knife. He was out stargazing in that area at the time of the murders. He was the one stalking them over and over and over again. The evidence is overwhelming. So what is the truth about the hair? He's
got to stop with this, yeah.
Yeah, the stalking.
It's always about the stalking. And
Yes.
funny, did they bring it up in last night's interview with Jesse Weber?
I
No,
can't
they
remember
didn't.
now. The
They
one we
actually didn't.
watched yesterday.
I think that was the only time they haven't brought up stalking. So remember, Sarah said that they're going to be able to put him at the house.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So are they going to be able to put him at the house all the times they supposedly said he was stalking this house?
Those are questions. If he's saying it, again, I'm reading in between the lines sometimes here.
Mm-hmm.
By making it, it's so salacious what he's saying, and like mind-boggling to think, okay, if it says all this, but who's really saying it? And if it's true, does it expose something else? Was BK there under different? If he was there, was he there under different circumstances? Was he a federal agent? Because then this whole thing gets exposed in a whole different matter. And again, it's my speculation on this, but I believe he was a federal agent. If he was near the property, at the property, it was under a whole different set of circumstances. He was there for a reason on behalf of the feds. And now he gets caught in this. Now, could he have abused that ability? Maybe. But it's opening up a door here to really look at, if that's true, where is he getting that information from specifically, right? Because it's the first time I'm hearing about it. Maybe other people have heard about it. Is it the first time you're hearing about it as well? That they could identify him at the property at
very
the house?
first, very first time.
So where does this come from? It has to come from federal information that's been hidden. It has to. It's not the state of Idaho that has this information. And if they did get it, it came after the fact, but still, it originates from, it was created from a federal footprint. And that's the problem. That helps BK. It's a problem. He's in jail, but it helps him regarding the vacating the plea. They're making it an issue of, oh, he's evil, he's this and that. Okay, that's a whole other narrative. I'm looking at it, how this could be used to assist BK in vacating the plea. So I'm looking at it, I'm making certain speculation, but what is not speculative, if this information is true, it originates from the feds, and that information has never come to the public, or maybe has never been provided to defense counsel. And if it was provided to defense counsel during the dump, when were they able to review it? Were they able to review it before the plea? That's a big deal. If it happened after the plea, it's huge, because now you have, you don't have the meeting of the minds. You can't, you didn't have the ability to actually even challenge that information. But Judge Hippler was going to allow it in. And if you allow that in, of course you're going to convict Bryan Kohberger. If you admit that kind of evidence without the ability to get the underlying data where it's sourced from. If you're just going to allow it in, it prejudiced the defense and BK's rights. That's how I look at it.
Okay. No, that's all good. It's gone.
Claiming a clump of hair that belonged to somebody else in the victim's hand, but I'm reading the defense forensic scientist said there was one hair that may have belonged to somebody else.
So I have talked to the lead investigator about this specifically, and from ISP, and I asked when it came out in the book, and he said, absolutely not. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He said Ethan's hand had fallen behind the bed, and obviously blood ran down his arm. It's sticky. The floor, you can't imagine, was not that clean. I mean, you could, behind any bed, it's probably not that clean, and debris, dust bunnies, dirt, all kinds of sorts of stuff, stuck to his hand. He was, it stuck to his hand. They packaged him up. They took him out of the house, and
they transported him to the medical examiner.
Yes. Yep. And when they, were looking for evidence and whatnot, this is what he had in his hand, or stuck to his hand. It was by no means a clump of hair that the book claims, saying that it was pulled out from the root of somebody's hair.
This is basically gossip, a desperate attempt to find something when you have no evidence that backs anything that you've tried to lay out. I mean, he has no alibi. He has nothing. So yeah, he's going to.
So here they're going to talk about this piece of hair. Can anybody clarify this?
Well, I remember, because I used it in my video, it was one hair that there was a DNA analysis of. That's clear. It was one hair. However, I don't know what this clump is. It from that clump? Where does this hair is sourced from? I don't know. And if there was a clump, because Whitcomb said it as well, right?
Yes, he said so.
So, and again, how did he get access to this information? And was it public at every time? I don't know. But he said it. Turvey said it. It's disputed by Cy Ray, right? Which, again, in the overall defense, or in seeking a PCR relief, this type of breakdown between the defense team is critical to show that BK basically had a shit show to deal with. So how could you make a knowing and voluntary and intelligent waiver if that information is being just disputed or withheld prior to the plea or even after the plea, which is even more egregious, but his rights are being violated. Doesn't matter who's right or wrong. The issue is that the destruction of the defense team existed at that time.
And here they're going to talk about it. So I'm just going to go back on that hair and check on that. But do you guys ever think that both of them had a hand in writing that book? For example, the book is written by Whitcomb, but kind of has Turvey's prints all over it.
Yeah, it's. It could very well be. It's not out of the realm that they will use each other. Again, their expertise and knowledge about what is needed to either assist a defendant, right, to vacate a plea. They know what it requires. So that's one issue, or at least raise the issue of ineffective assistance of counsel. They know how to do it, and they could do it through a book. They could do it through public statements, and both, and they've done it.
They have. Okay, that's a check-in. I want to know what you think about this next piece. They're going to talk about the alibi, that he was out and he's got nobody to verify his whereabouts. So, no, I don't know. I mean,
do you always need an alibi? I mean, it happened at 4 a.m.
Is it always possible? I mean, I've driven out late at night.
Sure. Yeah.
By myself. And if anything had to have happened, I wouldn't have an alibi to say where I am.
Or is his alibi, which he can't divulge because it would possibly threaten the lives of others in a federal operation that may still exist?
Possible.
Right? So
very possible.
We don't know, but I'm speculating. But there's reasons why, and if he's quiet, the reason he can't talk about it is because of an NDA, and that form that we talked about, where it's a standard form regarding his obligations if he gets that top secret security clearance and is able to view evidence. He would be charged under the Espionage Act.
And that makes a lot of sense when you say that now, because think about it. And we brought up that accident right outside of his apartment. Now,
yes,
anybody that doesn't have that kind of security clearance would never go past all those policemen, ambulance crew, everybody, right? That would be wild to even take a chance like that, unless he had reason to go past them, or he was investigating something.
He certainly felt comfortable. Right.
Gotta ask why.
I agree with you. It just raises.
I actually said in my video, I don't know if you watched it, I said that originally I kind of suspected that he was either working with police or that maybe he'd assisted them with something. I did mention that, but that was last year and kind of before I researched too much on it. But now I'm thinking what you're saying is true, because going past all of that, going out, was he following this accident?
Yeah.
Was he following?
Yes.
What's the girl's name?
Who was in the last name is Fernandez, the one in the accident, correct?
Roman. Was he following them?
Yeah,
I don't know. Assisting law enforcement? We don't know that at this point.
Right. But it makes us speculate, and it points us to it, because none of this makes sense. And so how do you make it make sense? Because there's so many parts that by itself, it's not a local crime. No matter what they say, this is not a local crime. This was a targeted attack. Oh, this is one thing I forgot to mention. I'm sorry, since we're right here, we're talking about in Steve G, and it was said, I think in either you played it, and I just forgot to bring it up before. This, according to sources, and I think Steve G said it, Kaylee sold her vehicle that Friday for $6,500 in cash. And the person who bought it provided an affidavit saying that Steve G asked if she was going to keep the cash or take it home, meaning take it to their house. And she said she was going to keep it, suggesting it's going to go to 1122 King Road with her in her vehicle. So was there ever any, I don't think any, has there been any indication that money or this amount of money was found at 1122 King Road? Because $6,500 buys a lot of rugs. And was that, and Steve G was there during the car transaction. That was that Friday, right? So my question is, was this money, because now think about who the purchaser of the vehicle is and who that person may represent. And that money then used, or that money is then used for a potential product purchase at 11/22. Who would be involved with $6,500? I don't know if anyone else chipped in, maybe made it more, but I could see now how a controlled buy under this situation could have occurred at that at the residence, and what else, or at least again, I'm speculating on this, but it raises questions. What happened to that money? Where did it go? And no one talks about it. We do know that she ends up unalived 2 days later.
Yeah, very interesting.
And Steve G going to the hospital. You brought it. Yeah, that's right. You brought it up. So he goes to the hospital. I mean, it just seems somehow he's involved in this, but I don't know.
Yeah, very conveniently. Okay, let's play.
Look for one photo with one piece of hair and try to say, what about that? You know?
Well, the guy wrote a book about it and made a big deal about it. Everybody freaked out about it and was like, oh my gosh, the clump of hair in Ethan's hand. And I immediately called and he was just like, what? And I said, well, this is what this book says. He goes, ridiculous. Absolutely false.
Okay, you know what? I just hope they bring that guy on the stand and quote his book on cross-examination and say, what clump? Why did you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just ask y'all straight out. You said you wanted this to go to trial, as do I. Do you still feel the same way, Christy and Steve?
I do. I mean, I would love, because I think that it would just stop so much of these people just running their mouths in this conspiracy theory. At this point, with this much time gone by, I mean, I'd have to, put myself in that state of mind again, which is not an easy state of mind to put yourself in, that you're moving. I mean, because we would have to physically move for 3 months. I mean, we have animals, we just can't travel back and forth. So, we would have to make those family adjustments. Yeah, I mean, if that's what it comes down to, we're all for it.
Yeah. Certain cases need to
Well, what about the possibility, Steve Gonsalves, of the death penalty?
Yes,
the firing squad, that thing.
Yeah, honor the victims. The 4 people died from a lowlife that wasn't even a member of our community. Okay, complete.
Interesting. I wonder if that counts for your brother too, Steve.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Say it again, Wendy.
Interesting. They're so bloodthirsty, these people. Yeah. So I wonder if he feels the same way. Should his brother have gotten the death penalty for what he did?
You're right. He took someone's life. You're right. And he's trying to demonize him. He's not part of our community, so we're going to treat him differently. What? Just kill him? But it's sad. Obviously,
that's where this whole cult and ritual is going to also come into play when I get to that. He actually is part of the same.
He's part of. Is he part of that church group or something?
No. So they are all of Germanic descent. The victims and Bryan Kohberger. So that becomes very interesting. If you look at the 4 victims and Bryan Kohberger, they're all from Germanic descent. That is why.
That's a good point.
That's why they wouldn't have had somebody else do it. It's to trigger the public.
Yeah, it is. It's all about triggering the public. And the words, member of our community. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? If someone killed your child, maybe it makes it worse if it's a member of your community.
Stranger came into our community and killed people while they go to sleep. If that doesn't, invoke some kind of prosecutor passion to actually uphold the law, then he probably doesn't have one. So yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, you know, if that's what they decide to do, we'll be there. We'll support the case and all the people that did all the hard work.
Yep.
But what do you want, Steve? I mean, it's one thing for me to say, yes, I want a trial because I want to hear the truth. I want the world to know the truth. And we didn't know the truth with that pathetic showing in court at the time of the plea. Your daughter was the only one with to stand up and speak the truth. Okay. So I'd like a prosecutor that has a.
That's interesting she said that, because that's exactly what we're talking about. There's no allocution. So why would you do that? Judges don't do that. You don't let that part of a crime out, even if the rules allow for it. When you have a quadruple murder and you have the issues that were laid out by Ann Taylor during that trial phase, knowing that Ann Taylor had raised those issues, all these issues, and the plea comes and you do not require an allocution, that's a problem. That shows you that they were hiding stuff. They split the baby on it. They allowed him to do that. Why would you allow him not to provide an allocution if the case was so strong? Because there were problems with the way the case developed and the basis for the case, meaning that federal hand, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Similar set of, right? Can we find one of those? I'd like to see how this plays out with a real prosecutor and hear the facts. For instance, tell me what you were saying, Steve, about what was caught on video that maybe the rest of the world doesn't know about regarding his car and the phone and the car traveling together.
Yeah, people can actually do this if they understand how AI is. Just go in and tell it, take every time that this car's on camera and then cross-correlate it with the path that is known, and it'll do a pretty good job of showing you what they went on. But when you go back and you compare the times and the stamps and what he's on there, they pinned that all the way down.
Once he turned his phone back on, they knew exactly where it was, and they said his device was traveling on this road, through this camera. That was definitely him, so whether
all the way back to stadium,
it was somebody else that had hhis device and his car traveling. So
and when was that, Christy? When was his phone identified traveling along with the car? When?
At 4:48, his car turns on. He turns on a map application. At that point, they get further details on exactly where he was. So you cross-correlate that with the last time he's on there at 4:21 or 4:20, depending on what you're going off. You can say, okay, what path? I think it was 27 minutes. Where would that get him to? And then you define that 4:48 where he turns it on, and they match up.
It was almost exactly the time frame.
And then the path
so
back.
It is him with his GPS
yes,
and his phone the night of the murders going to the murder scene. We know it was him. So all this BS about you didn't get a tag number. We got better than a visual on a tag number. We have his GPS. Explain it one more time and put it in slow-mo. I want to make sure I understand it. Steve?
He talks to people like...
Okay, so he's seen on a camera called 1112, turning right, and it's a timestamped at 4:20, maybe 4:21.
Leaving the scene.
Yeah, he's taking a right, leaving the scene. He turns his phone on at 4:48. So then they go look at that as a source of truth and say, okay, where we seen him here last, and then we see him down here. That's where he's registered on the cell towers. They do the map and the time, 27 minutes. It actually gets him exactly where he's turning his phone on.
Instead of telling you about how amazing Toonby really is, why don't I just show you? Let's say we want...
Hi, guys. American homeowners.
Sorry, go on.
No, I'm just saying, where is he getting his information? Was it AI? Where is he getting this? I mean,
Gemini.
It certainly raises even more questions. His intensity on this on these videos that we know. I mean, we even when we played one of those videos on your show, people are disappearing. I mean, are those videos reliable? And we know that
I don't believe they
people.
are. And they're also so grainy. I mean, even here in South Africa, if you look at our street cameras, they're so clear. And this is like pretty much like a shithole country compared to America. So I'm struggling to believe that the footage has not been tampered with.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. And I'm also waiting to see Bigfoot.
That guy, I wonder where he went. That ghost we saw on camera that just disappeared into the bushes.
Yes. I mean that.
But guys, also you go to Live Giga's channel because he strips away the pixels on the video footage.
Okay.
He'll actually show you. And if you look at what he's done, he shows a lot of things that indicates, on the pictures, just my opinion, law enforcement, people filming the entire event outside of the house.
I agree. There's just too many cameras.
It's my belief that none of this happened inside the house.
Maybe the bodies. Were there two other venues that this happened, where two different set of things happening, right? And then they bring the bodies into 1122. I mean, it makes sense because you have such a cleaned area and a lack of evidence. Now you could argue cleanup happened, but
no, it seems impossible to clean up that much, right?
Yeah.
Then I want to know what chemicals they're using. So it's just my feeling that none of this happened inside the house. And it also didn't happen at the time that we were told it happened.
I probably agree with you on that. Because if there was a cleanup, it would be a cleanup of the blood coming from how they brought in the bodies.
Yeah,
right?
and remember, we still want to talk about those undocumented victims, because we spoke about this. I think Big Amish and just guys remind us, because we do not believe that there were only 4 victims on that night.
Yes, that is true. And you had the report, wasn't there? I forgot what you had, but yeah, that's our belief. I think there was a 5th victim, if not a 6th victim, but certainly a 5th that was documented. I forgot, was that that was also in news reports as well, but
yeah. What about undocumented victims?
Yeah, as far as undocumented victims, you had raised that point, and I believe that is the case. I do believe that. I can't help but look at that video footage showing is it 1119 or is that 1112? I'm sorry, or 1112. What is their house that we ended up seeing the flash? Yes. Remember that one? So that home, that residence looks potentially, to me, suggests that it could be a potential crime scene when I analyzing it.
Romani, former federal prosecutor, extraordinary attorney. How can I get this thing to trial? Can the state join with Kohberger and go, you want a new trial? Fine, you got it. Put it on the calendar. Can that happen, or can the judge stop it?
The judge can stop it, but I think the easiest path, and you nailed it, is for the defense to submit a declaration saying that they were ineffective. Look, it's the Strickland test, right? There's a manifest injustice. We didn't tell our client this information. We misled our client. If they put that in writing, it's a done deal, but they got to fall on the sword. And you're right. Maybe they want to do that for their client. There's really nothing the judge or the state can do.
That's what you said, Big Amish.
We don't know what communications they had with Kohberger. And if they confess that type of error, then it's game over, and the judge has to grant the motion.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to one of the other 10 or 12 other death penalty qualified lawyers in the state of Idaho. It can't be them defending the case going forward.
That's exactly what you said, Big Amish.
Yes. See that? Wow. That is, well, that's great on one hand. On the other, we got to see how this plays out, right? Ann Taylor. Now you could see why the investigation into the leak and her being part of that investigation, a criminal investigation. All right. Are they trying to influence her like they did Vargas? Who was doing the investigation? Was it only the state? I believe the feds were involved as well. But
for sure.
But yeah, this is great to see. Again, Ann Taylor's declaration is the key to all of this. And if she's a witness, and that's why I also believe that Josh Hurwitz is going to be brought in to assist the state and the PCR's defense because of his knowledge. It's not going to be Thompson. Well, it could be. It could be Thompson, and it could be Jennings. It could be, theoretically. But I believe because of the influence of Josh Hurwitz, he's going to be brought in. Doesn't mean that the others won't also be part of the team again. But I believe Josh Hurwitz comes back into this case, even though he's in private practice. He'll be appointed special prosecutor for the state in advancing this defense. I'm sorry.
Possible.
Yep.
Is the cleanest, the easiest path. The other way, like you said, is if the state admits some sort of error. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yes.
I think that would also.
He's not really claiming that. He's claiming, okay, wait a minute, Nima, you mean this won't work legally? Quote, my actual innocence is my truth. And the plea hinged on false promises and, quote, all caps, must be withdrawn. So he was misled about job opportunities behind bars. Okay, I haven't seen that in an appellate record yet. Jail ain't what it's cracked up to be. Give me a new trial. I want out. Okay, that's where this is going. Listen to this.
There was tons of DNA, by the way. I don't know why it's been reported it was trace DNA. It was not. It was tons of DNA. So there was certainty in the quality of the DNA. There was certainty in the analysis. And there was certainty that there was more than enough information in that tree to get to a person.
Those are two of the foremost DNA experts in the world, the Middlemans, and that's from our friends at Fox News at CrimeCon. Okay, Joe Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, before you get started, I want to give you, I know you don't need one, but a little reality check about what this case is about.
That is so funny. Tons of DNA evidence.
Look at our floors. We desperately need
I
mustard.
also think so. Sorry, I'm just going to
We're
pause you.
building the first mustard in South Buffalo.
So I'm going through some of Kaylee's things, and
we just pause.
But it's important just to go back to that attorney, the federal attorney, who spoke about a Brady. Did he say Brady violation? I can't remember what he said, but basically withholding evidence, right? And that's exactly what Ann Taylor set out, that the feds, the raw data, in order in the chain of custody, whoever handled that evidence or developed that evidence or maintained that evidence, you should be able to look behind the curtain. Doesn't matter if it's the feds or not. You should be able to look behind the curtain in order to satisfy the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment for due process, right? You should be able. You have the right to do that. It's a mandatory right. That's your ability to cross-examine. When the state does not do that, in this case, Hippler denied both the motion to suppress and the motion to compel, right? It doesn't matter that the state doesn't have authority over the feds. The judge could compel the state to either produce the raw data, the chain of custody, and allow those individuals who are maintaining it to be cross-examined by Ann Taylor, right? Or they drop the case. That's what a reasonable judge would have done. Now, those issues are preserved because hiding a federal sovereign under parallel construction, right, doesn't go away. So that can't be waived because Judge Hippler stopped you from looking under that hood, right, and looking behind that curtain. And now you have that issue come up. So theoretically, and that's the kind of stuff that is Brady material, because it would be exculpatory, in my opinion, if you find out that there were errors in the handling and the like. And so that structurally provides a basis to vacate the plea, because there's no meeting of the minds. You are being tricked. You are being coerced, number one, and also tricked through judges' orders and the state, who are, and the feds who are behind this current all along, who identified BK long before any probable cause established by the state. So there's no meeting of the minds again, and that's the kind of information that the attorney's raising, that if you withhold that material, that allows a stipulation. You could stipulate to basically vacate the plea because you have a defect, a constitutional defect in the plea itself by withholding that Brady material. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. No, that makes sense. Thank you for explaining that as well. Okay, so she's going to bring Joseph Scott Morgan on, who isn't part of the case also. But before she's going to do this, we're going to watch it. So she's going to play something here from the Gonsalves family, or Christy. Let's have a look.
I just came across the sweatshirt that she was wearing that night. And in the pocket is her grub truck, number 78
what does
ticket.
That mean?
I was looking for it. It's the first thing that I really found that I've been looking for. It was in the top of a box, and then when I looked in the pocket and I found that ticket, just takes you back to those hours right before, and they had no idea what was going to happen to them. Terrible.
That's Christy from the Gonsalves family Facebook. Joe Scott.
Well, that was very emotional, and I gotta say that does grip you. Anyone who has children, even if you don't, but just hearing a mother about her children. I mean, that's the point of her show as well, is to bring the emotional aspect to why you should demonize what BK is seeking. So but I understand the family, and people were unalived in this, so I can't, diminish that. But clearly there's an emotional narrative here.
Yeah, but you also have a lot of public here. Now, I don't want to dismiss her as being emotional for her child as well, but I think a lot of the public is demanding this in a way, if that makes sense, because I can understand her grieving for her child.
Yes.
But it does seem strange, because I think this was on Facebook. It does seem strange that she almost gets asked to do this in a way. Like, she wouldn't do it if there wasn't an audience for it, right? People want to see this.
Yeah. It's
so
like
grief
theater.
Grief. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not saying that she's not grieving for her child. Not at all. I'm saying that this is used to demonize Bryan and his family.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't see them crying in front of a camera. So grief, to me, is something that is very personal. You can, if any of you have gone through extreme grief where you've lost someone, it's very normal to cry. But I don't know, maybe I'm just not living in this digital world where I post everything online about my private life. So it does seem strange, and I'm not blaming her. I'm saying, why are her followers
I
asking
agree
for
with
this kind of behavior?
Yeah, you see this a lot. They're able to go on so many shows or CrimeCon, but man, it's a hard subject kind of. But showing that sweatshirt and the grub truck ticket, and again, I don't know, showing it is very visceral for certain people. I'm trying to look at it objectively, but my heart does go out to the family. But is there any, number 78? Does that have any? I mean, I don't know. And that
You
sweatshirt.
heard of like a mass hysteria effect. So also when people are watching, then some people can cry because, and they might not necessarily be crying about what you think they're crying about. Something else could be going on there that's making her cry.
Yes.
Not to be mean, but I don't know. I'm just, what I'm feeling Nancy's doing here is she's using this event to re-traumatize the public.
Yes, and also push a commercial aspect of the middleman, which the G's are also involved in. Right? The middlemen who made some outlandish statements about a ton of DNA and the certainty of their DNA analysis, which BK never had the ability to cross-examine. But you realize how again, I want to emphasize, there's a statement made that could be used. It's a duplicitous use. One, yes, it's demonizing or showing you BK's the right perpetrator, the right defendant. He did it. On the other hand, they're also exposing and making statements that BK could use and say, we were never allowed to cross-examine you. We were never able to seek statements from you to determine the certainty that you now claim. Now it's done after, right? And the reliability. We know that they amplified the DNA sample. How did they amplify it? That information was never provided to BK and his defense team. So just that alone, it exposes stuff. The IGG comes out. Oh, and I'm thinking out loud again. There are cases coming down the pipe in the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, not the Idaho, that involve IGG and geofencing. So the mass surveillance of the geofencing, like with the cell tower records, and IGG are coming up that would impact this case regardless. So that's coming down the pike. Now, is it a year from now? Can't tell you. But the Supreme Court will be taking up these cases, or have, and it's just going to take a little time, but probably within a year, you'll get one of them. But if the IGG is knocked out, if it's found to be unconstitutional, what happened? And we know that there's violations of the terms of service. We know that, right? We know that's clear. But the Supreme, Hitler allowed it. He doesn't care. He allowed it. So now it's the Supreme. But if the Supreme Court speaks on this issue, it's on IGG and finds it unconstitutional, and the geofencing with the cell tower records, the game's over. Either one of them, the game's over. Even if the PCR fails, BK still has an avenue to vacate the plea and walk. So hopefully, did I make any sense on that?
No, 100%. Okay.
What are we going to do, man?
God bless y'all. I can't even plumb the depths of this. getting back to the to the evidence at hand, I got to tell you something. And going back to what Steve and Christy had said earlier, and let the hide come with the hair is what I say. If he wants a fight, bring it on. Because going back to what that clip that you showed of our friends David and Kristen at Othram, I felt all along that there was going to be just a plethora of DNA evidence. And here's why. I'm going to throw a number out to you that we don't use this number a lot when we're talking about these 4 precious lives. Okay. We talk about the individual injuries, per person. But Nancy, I want to give you this number, 150. 150 injuries we're talking about in total. Now, that's kind of an approximation because the violence involved in this case, you have what were referred to, or what I would refer to as communicating injuries. So you have such a concentration of injuries that you'll get this kind of cross pattern where you can't delineate it. And of course, this certainly happened with Kaylee. There's just certain things that you can't interpret specifically because of the level of violence. But 150, Nancy, just let that sink in. How are you going to engage in this kind of violence and not have transfer of DNA? And you taking on DNA from an individual, I can only imagine where else they're sourcing this from. Points of contact. We go back, and my old adage is always Lacard. Every contact leaves a trace, and that principle holds true here. It's solid as the day is long. And so when you think about the violence that was exacted here, yeah, I think that there is a solid underpinning of evidence here. And again, if he feels froggy, let's jump, baby. Let's roll. Because I want to see this evidence. And going back from a prosecutorial standpoint, I want to see somebody that's actually got the guts to go forward, stand up, and accuse him and direct him to offer up an explanation for what happened. Of course, we didn't see that because there was no damn allocution. That was not required of him. He gets to live on Easy Street now, doesn't he?
Nima Rahmani, is there any way this can happen? How dare he, after all he has put everybody through? It's all about me. I don't like jail. This wasn't what it's cracked up to be. I was lied to. I was mistreated. Every sentence starts with I. Is there a way to give him what he wants? Because I'd like to put it 3 inches right up his tailpipe.
Listen, I would love a trial too, just like everyone else. I think there's no world where he's actually innocent. He will be convicted. He will be sentenced to death. But I don't think it's going to happen, Nancy. This is a final judgment. The law wants to keep these judgments final. We can't have every criminal defendant claiming
even when
they're
both
innocent.
Parties don't want it to be final.
Oh,
both
it's
parties
still final. You have to show manifest
can demand
injustice.
a trial.
Interesting.
I just gave you a U.S. Supreme Court that can undo a guilty plea. All this business about a plea is unappealable. That's crap. That's not true. I can't believe they even said that to start with. Do they not have a law book?
Well, listen, there has to be a constitutional violation. So if the parties agree that there's a constitutional violation, of course, but they can't just enter into a stipulation. It's not like just putting a piece of evidence in or saying, hey, we want a do-over. There has to be a legal basis to unwind this. Absent a constitutional violation, we're not going to be able to get there. It's not enough for the prosecution and the defense to say, you know what, we've changed our mind. We want a do-over. This was a bad deal because the million.
Sorry.
I was going to just say, no, this is right on point. This is great. And Nancy also is doing a good job, at least saying, look, there's got to be a way to do it. We talked about how hiding the ability to cross-examine and get the raw data of information that is held by the feds does impact and raise Brady material issues. So that could be used as the basis for a stipulation, right? So the state basically saves face in some ways and allows possibly the feds to do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a Brady violation, right, which we know basically exists We know that because even Othram, the middleman's talking about it and what their statements are. But that ability to get that information, the algorithm, the reliability factors, all that is Brady material.
Mm-hmm.
And so the state could stipulate there could be a resolution, right? So there could be a resolution by stipulation, and it could very well be in that 68 terabyte dump that comes out. Just when did you find it? So if it's pre-plea, it raises an issue. But even pre-plea, the fact that you concealed when there was a reasonable basis for Ann Taylor to inquire about the federal involvement in the evidence chain, the raw data, how it was compiled, maintained, all of that raises due process issues, Sixth Amendment issues, right, the right to cross-examination, and Brady material. So it's there. If they want to use that avenue, you could stipulate to it. And I believe the basis has already been there because of what Ann Taylor's motions have identified. So it's existed at the trial level. And the reason it's not waived, right, even though you lost those motions, it's not waived, right? They're going to say, well, BK knew about, that Ann Taylor's motions didn't succeed. Okay, so does that go to ineffective assistance of counsel? That's a question. But I don't think so. It can't be just motions or rulings. But if it is the material that's being hidden by those motions that survives a plea waiver, because BK and Ann Taylor don't know exactly what was there, right? You weren't provided the ability to obtain that information. And if that information was disclosed in that 68 terabyte dump that you now see was a Brady violation, that plea is vacated, or it could be stipulated to be vacated based on what this gentleman's saying as well. So there's certainly a basis for it and how it benefits BK. So I'm glad he's actually, this is great. Just one thing before you go. The issue with Judge Hippler, again, not allowing or not granting the motions that Ann Taylor filed is critical, right? And then you have Judge Hippler potentially being involved in the plea negotiations and becomes a witness. So Judge Hippler's involvement is somewhat of a big deal because he's helping on one hand conceal the federal footprints that were involved here and identifying BK way before the state ever did. Hippler's involved in that state action, concealing a due process violation in cross-examination and the like. But so Judge Hippler is playing a dual role. He's a witness to the plea, which, by the way, he had every right and ability to say, I'm not going to accept this plea unless you give an allocution. He didn't do that. Why? He could have done that. He most certainly should have done that, knowing the issues that were raised below with Ann Taylor and the fighting that was going on, calling Cy Ray a conspiracy theorist and attacking Ann Taylor at every level, right? He had a duty at that point to compel an allocution to accept that plea agreement. He didn't. And the reason he didn't is because he was concealing the federal involvement. He was concealing their abuses in this case. That's what Hippler was doing. And now he's a witness to his own wrongdoing. I hope that comes out. I hope that actually comes forward. And that's brought up in the in motions to come.
I hope so. I think we're all eager to see what they were really hiding. We kind of had a suspicion, but it is going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
You're thinking the best.
Sorry.
Oh no, I just said yes, and yeah, I just agreed with you. Thank you.
Okay.
That is ineffective assistance of counsel, because actual innocence is not going to work. Not knowing and voluntary, that's not going to work.
I disagree.
We're down prosecutorial misconduct. That didn't happen. So all we're left with is ineffective.
That's all we're left with. So unless
Well, you know
Taylor,
what? He's crazy like a fox, because that's what he's claiming in this petition, that his lawyers did not give him the whole truth, that they withheld exculpatory evidence from him to get him to plead guilty. He's saying it was all a fabrication. Is that what he's saying, Nate Eaton? Is all a big fabrication? It was a lie?
Oh, hold on right
That's
here.
what he's saying, Nancy. One interesting thing is the Attorney General for the state of Idaho came out and said, my office stands ready to do whatever is necessary to ensure justice is fully carried out. He didn't say there's no chance that this will advance, that if the judge denies it. It sounds like the Attorney General is ready and willing to help. So let's say a prosecutor from the Attorney General's office steps in and says, okay, we'll prosecute the case from the state level. And then Kohberger, who's going to represent him if this proceeds? Is he going to represent himself? He's writing his own legal briefs.
No, there are plenty of lawyers that would do it just for the PR. You know, I appreciate what the state AG said, Labrador, but where the hay was the AG when this plea was going down? Okay, when everybody across the country was screaming, including the Gonsalves family. Where were they then? You know what? If they're going to come late to the party, great, come on.
Wow.
But But another thing this does is it opens up a possibility the feds might step in, because that plea is undone. The feds could jump in, Steve Gonsalves.
Right?
Yes, this is exactly.
That's what I told you, and it's not the first time she said that.
And that's the whole basis of parallel construction. If the state fails to convict the person you fingered, the feds being the so if the states fail to do that, whether you lose at trial or gets that, they have the ultimate say. They could just turn around and charge you. Now, I'm also glad you stopped here just for a quick second. When they raise hiding evidence, or that the attorney, I forgot the exact statement, concealed information or evidence from BK. Now, keep in mind, that could be very well true. Let's break it down procedurally. Ann Taylor, when she gets the 68 terabyte dump, okay, she now possesses that information, technically. So even though she has not reviewed it or has the ability to thoroughly review it, she is now in possession of that information. So a technical argument by BK could be that she had this information, she never told me about it. You see my point? And it doesn't, the other issue of whether she had the ability to review it or not, that's a whole separate issue. It goes to the ineffectiveness and the concealment. Who was behind it? That is Josh Hurwitz, right? Who's leading the charge. He did it this way because, just so people know as well, I don't mean to jump. In federal court, the issue of doing this data dump unindexed is a violation. You can't do it in federal court. This cannot happen in federal court.
But why can it not happen in federal courts? Sorry, just to ask that.
Because they found it, actually, there's case law on it, that this mass sifting, it's actually in my video, which all right. I won't keep saying that until I
Yeah, I might sound a little bit ignorant there, but I'm just.
It's a fair point. I'm just thinking that it's in my video, which I still haven't released. But so federal rule, mass sifting, the data dump. The reason they found it unconstitutional, violates due process, is exactly this. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I got to review the Idaho rule again, but the Idaho rule allows, it just says you have to provide the information and make it accessible. That's like state law. They've not caught up to the technology. But again, this issue is very critical. What's unconstitutional in a federal court can't be constitutional in a state court. And don't forget who was involved. Josh Hurwitz. He was the federal attorney general, the U.S. attorney general who handles federal cases. He knows better to not do an unindexed data dump. He knew better because where he came from, it's illegal to do it. Now he gets in the state side with a wink, wink, and help from Hippler. He gets the data dump done, and you have Hippler's statement to Ann Taylor. You asked for the world. Now that you get it, you want additional time. And you have Josh Hurwitz banging the table. Delay, delay, delay. So you have a horrible, just atrocious use of rules to violate someone's right and to enter into a plea, right? So I just raised that, and I hope I made it clear how on the federal side this issue would there's no way a judge is going to accept that. Too much, it's just not. Just the dumping in itself is wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Just before trial.
Yeah, because think about it. Let's say you don't have a public defender, or even if you do, if 68 terabyte dump happened, how much is that going to cost you as a private litigant, let alone a public one, but a private litigant? You're standing up on your own 2 feet. And let's assume you are pro se. How the hell are you going to get through that? Now you could understand how wrong that is.
Would she be able to employ any of her co-counsel to go through that?
They're all, you mean Ann Taylor's co-counsel?
Mm-hmm.
Well, during the time, not now, during the time, unless BK says, could you help me sift through it? And they're doing it, whatever agreement they have to go through the devices. But Ann Taylor and those defense attorneys who are involved cannot represent her at the PCR stage. But could they still assist BK in gathering information and the data? Absolutely, they can.
Mm-hmm.
With some caveats, but yes, I just answer it without getting too technical on this.
Okay, no, that's good. All right, let me go on here.
Elvis, they could.
Yeah, we've always had speaks and talks about the feds doing that, and now that they're pro death penalty, before they were kind of wishy-washy, and they gave a bunch of petitions so people didn't have to be on the death penalty. They got them off. So yeah, I would love to see a real prosecuting service that we could get.
Yeah, we've often wondered why it wasn't federal, but when this happened, it was under Biden administration, and the FBI told them then they could prosecute, but they could not.
Yeah, well, you brought up the Biden. It reminded me. You brought up the Biden. It happened in 2022. We were talking about the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that.
Yeah, we were talking about why they rushed to build the firing squad.
Yeah, and think about it. If you are being charged with the death penalty and you see them firing up their weapons, getting ready, I mean, come on. It's not like it existed before. You could factually how this would resonate in someone's mind if you were sitting in BK's shoes. They're going to kill you. That's exactly what they're saying. We're going to kill you. So that and the spatial, the time frame of when BK's charged and what was happening, I guess, motions, and we could look at it, the timeline when the death penalty was reinstated during his trial phase, and how that would impact someone's mentality. Oh, I forgot, by the way, I think that was being challenged as well with Ann Taylor, or was raised somehow, even though you're not in the death penalty phase. The fact that they were bringing it back, alters your defense. And how is that constitutional? And I think the prosecution argued, well, they knew the death penalty applies, but we just didn't know which method we would carry it out with. Well, it certainly matters. But anyway, I digress a little bit. But I'm just
no, thank you. It's interesting how we bring these up and then they talk about it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it triggers things to bring us back to the case of what was going on. Very relevant. Excellent.
Prosecute for death penalty. So we were like, just leave it with Bill Thompson then. Leave it with Latah County. So obviously things have changed and they're no longer under the Biden administration. And the FBI can pursue the death penalty. So that would be great. Best of the best.
Joining us now, Dr. Bethany Marshall,
Oh dear.
renowned psychoanalyst out of the LA jurisdiction.
Was there
She
any
is
mention
the author
of
of
Hurwitz
Deal
at all?
Breakers. You can see.
Did I miss any? Did they mention anything about Hurwitz? Because
No.
They
Did
just
they? Did anybody hear anything about Josh Hurwitz? I don't think so.
Wow, they left him out of the equation, and they're bringing up FBI, and which the DOJ would have to bring the charges, obviously. But how is he being left in this discussion is mind-blowing. Okay, I'm sorry.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah,
Josh,
no, they didn't mention his name. I think she's deliberately not mentioning his name, or she doesn't know about him. Which one do you think it is?
she has to know about him. There is no way Josh Hurwitz, because he's the one who was, pushing all this, especially after February 16th. I guess he joins the board, but now he's in private practice. Keep in mind, but I'm saying the fact that he's being ignored in these discussions, because who would she have a discussion with the feds back then? It would have to be Josh Hurwitz or his office, but it would be Josh Hurwitz. He ultimately comes into the case. So obviously he was intimately familiar with the case to jump in so quickly. And he was actually, prior to him jumping in, didn't he show up at different hearings? And let me just say this as well. Josh Hurwitz, or a federal prosecutor, assistant U.S. attorney, could be involved in the state grand jury presentation of the evidence to indict BK. That's not even discussed here. I don't know, but potentially Thompson and the state prosecutors could rely and bring in federal prosecutors, right, to direct or advance evidence that they have and present it to a state grand jury, and we would never know about it. So I'm bringing that up because I don't know if people know that or not. That could happen, and you see it happening in real time when they need him. He comes in and takes on basically a special prosecutor. That happens, but at the state grand jury level, you could present evidence, and you could have people present evidence on your behalf for the state. So.
Oh, and just quickly, Design Rhythm says here 1 terabyte is 7.2 million pages of documents.
Yeah, I read that overnight. Yes, of course, 1 terabyte. That's insane. I don't even want to read a book anymore.
She's going to change a bit now. She's going to bring somebody that's completely unrelated onto this. I'll watch a bit of this.
Her on Hulu, on Peacock, on Netflix, brand new hit podcast, On the Couch with Dr. Bethany Marshall. You can find her at drbethanymarshall.com. Okay, hit it, Bethany. Thoughts?
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Gonsalves, I loved your most recent Facebook post about the fact that Bryan Kohberger is a mosquito you can't seem to squash. But, sadly, it's worse. My clinical experience leads me to believe that you are only the only people he can victimize right now. In other words, he's a killing machine. He likely had other victims on the radar. Likely the family of the existing 4 were on the radar, meaning you were on his radar. And, you know, he has too much time, free access to a law library. He's in solitary confinement. So how does he act out his murderous impulses without a victim right in front of him, without access to future victims? What does he do? He lashes out at you. That's worse than a mosquito. That's somebody who, if he was not behind bars, would maybe have you in his sights.
For just $67,
Did
you
you hear
generate
this?
as many videos
What
as
a
you
predator.
want and never have to worry about
He would
showing your
have you in his sight. What a great storyteller.
Hi, guys. Nancy Grace here. If you are by using their 865S star to HTT $99.99. And good luck.
She's got her commercial.
Dr. Bethany.
This Dr. Bethany, she actually made a very crude remark about, I don't want to say it, but anyway, she said that this was last year when she was on Nancy's show. She said that BK was attracted to his own mother in a very inappropriate way. Yes, she did say that.
Oh,
She
the
did.
Oedipus complex.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say it like that, but wow. Okay, so I don't know because she's never diagnosed him. But to say something like that, she didn't say it that. No, she didn't say it like that. No. She just blurted it out, and
Really,
she did. She was not even using proper terminology for it. No, she said it. She actually found that. But
BK should sue her then for defamation.
well, yeah, you guys, just before we go on, I would love to play Tony Bruschi's videos. I could probably read some of them, but I think because I bought a membership to see what he was saying, but it's bad. It's really bad. I don't think it's a lot. It's called Hidden Killers Podcast. If you want to see, if any of you want to do this and go and download the videos, because I'm keeping them just in event we ever get the opportunity to send this to Bryan's family or anything. I'm going to download the videos. So any of you that want to do it, I think we should. I know somebody, I think it's Christie's Chaos. She also downloads and saves a lot of videos. If anybody here has contact with her, just I know it's a membership, but you can just take it for 1 month and see. Because just based on what people like that are saying, if I was his family, I would sue them. I would.
Yeah, no, they have the basis for it just on that statement alone. Doesn't matter anything. She has an opinion, but when she gives that statement, I mean, I don't know where she's getting those facts from and how she would prove that to be true. But yeah, that opens the door to a civil suit. So I'll just leave it at that.
Public humiliation ritual, and pretty much what they're doing. Not only, I mean, that is really shameful to say things like that. Also, I don't know how these people actually get away with it. Like Bruschi was saying, the blob of meat that fell out of his mother. I mean,
oh my God. Now that's foul. That's
sorry, guys. Sorry, I don't mean to.
No, but he said it.
But this is horrible, right? This is really it's something horrible to say about anybody. And yeah, so you just kind of wonder. I mean, they don't have anything concrete or anything intelligent to say, so they resort to really like below the belt blows.
Yeah, they'll do
I want
anything
your
for
analysis. He's basically saying, my defense team, they all lied to me. They fabricated this whole thing and they misled me about life behind bars. Translation, guess what? Jail ain't what it's cracked up to be, Dr. Bethany.
Well, our most strongest impulse is the survival instinct, right? So he wants to survive. He wants to be out. He's delusional. He thinks he might get out. He's a criminal law, student, PhD student. And so he thinks he's above the law and he can twist the law. But I think primarily it's all self-referential. And, Nancy, interestingly, he is throwing his defense team under the bus, which shows me how dispensable everybody is to him. His mother and father now have to come into court. They have cried in previous appearances. And when he's, been in court and in various cases, appearances, and now he's subjecting his family to torture, as well as the Gonsalves family and all the other families. So they're dispensable too. His own family, would they have been on the radar as well? It's hard to know.
It's for anyone, even someone with great hair who wants even better hair, someone wanting to regrow their hair.
She's not waking up. Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way. Okay, thank you. Okay, and how old is she? She's 20. 20, you said? Yes, 20. Here's one. Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Hey, sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Kelly, you called it. This is what they're doing. This is the call I want them to play at trial.
Yeah. No.
How did you go? I mean, you say that you checked to see if they're breathing. So if you did that, then how did you not see?
All the blood.
How? And just quickly, the Gonsalves might be right in saying that Bryan is a mosquito, because I kind of had this vision of him flying in there like a little mozzie and doing this, because without even the footprints, there's no prints anywhere.
He flies
So
around.
maybe he is a little mozzie.
You're right. But it does beg the question that you raise. If he checks on the breathing, how does he not get any blood or see the blood? How does he not get any blood on himself? How do you check for breathing?
How did he not see Ethan?
Yeah.
Because they called in for one person. You telling me he didn't see Ethan there? No ways.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, just to add another thing regarding the defamation, you could also use, there's another claim you can make in civil, and that is a false light. And that's when things are publicized, which she was on a media stage. In a false light, you don't need a falsity. You don't need a false statement. It's just one that's more of misleading. Does it put you in a false light? So she could say what she wants about him, opinion of him as a defendant and what she thinks of the case. But once she went into that relationship with his mother, which I've not heard yet, but based on what you're telling me, that raises a whole other issue. And the secondary claim someone would make is called false light. And when it's used in when there's a mass publication. So defamation, you need to show falsity. False light, you don't. It's just that when it puts you in a false light, it makes a misleading kind of statement towards you.
Okay.
We're clear. Let me secure the outside first. So. Go to the front door. There's a back entry. I was going to start taping it all off. Brian's taping the outside off. Okay.
I heard someone in the bathroom and I heard her crying, and I heard some guy say that you're going to be okay, I'm going to help you. And I kept calling her name, but she wasn't answering. And then I opened the door for a second and I saw this guy.
From our friends at Law and Crime.
She heard Kaylee, but they were sleeping.
Yeah. God. I mean, it's so screwed up, so sad.
Jeff, I know what you're saying here. I don't know. Guys, you don't have to hide comments. There's no need for it. But he said, if you're cute, you can ponder on a mean frat prank in the middle of the night when you yourself would fear. Bethany mentions the notion of them being pranked. Yeah, but Jeff, this is my problem with the whole thing. We spoke about this before. People can sense real danger. Our human, we are designed to sense danger. That is our whole design as human beings. Something doesn't, I can be here and my daughter's on the other side of town, like 30 minutes away, and I can sense something is not right, even without speaking to her. That's just the way human beings are designed. Am I making sense with that?
Absolutely.
I don't know if any of you have ever felt that where, just you're not even speaking to somebody, but something in you just says, you know what? Let me just check on this person. Something doesn't feel right. And what I'm saying is, being in the house, I wouldn't take it as a prank. And I don't want to shame them. I know they are college students, but I can excuse that and say, okay, maybe at the time she thought it was a prank, right? But at some point after that, when you're sitting there and you're on your phone and you're scrolling Snapchat, Indeed, Instagram, and you say your own words, the text messages between Dylan and Bethany, and you say you were frightened. The text messages are there, right? So we've already established that this is not a prank, because when Bethany says to her, just run down to my room, it's better than being alone, she's already admitted that she no longer thinks this is a prank. Correct?
Yeah.
And so, I try and see both sides of it. Maybe they thought it was a prank initially, but the minute she runs down to Bethany's room, she herself is admitting that this is no longer a prank.
Yeah. And when she's outside being interviewed, when she's outside the house with the blanket around her, or I guess it's by the police cruiser, whoever's that recording, she says that she was scared and closed her door. So if you're scared of this person and you don't take any further steps, how do you become scared? That she says there, and then she says, oh, I don't know if I was drunk or not, but she says she was scared. So if you're scared, what do? Do you do what she does? And that is allegedly fall asleep, which we know didn't happen because she was on her phone. So she's lying there again.
And I can't go with the story, as you're saying, Jeff, again, respectfully. I'm not going with the story that she's drunk, because I don't know. Look, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying what my gut feel is telling me, that I find it very hard to believe that she was drunk and that's why she didn't know what happened. Because when something like that happens and you're scared, you sober up so quickly.
Yeah. Why did she close the door then? If she was so drunk, why did she close the door? She could have just thought, oh, it's a guest.
3 times she closed that door, apparently.
So she's scared enough. She's drunk enough to recognize that she's scared, but drunk enough that she doesn't know if it's real or not.
I've never seen a drunk person that realizes they're scared.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the first time. That's what I'm saying. She's drunk enough to recognize she's scared, but not to remember anything else.
And isn't it when like if you could have a lot of alcohol, but when something like that happens and you sober up instantly.
Of course.
Well, she sobered up enough to be on her phone because we know now not sleeping. Because I don't know, I can't even look at my phone when I've got contact lenses in my eyes. I feel like a drunk person because I have to hold the phone 2 meters away to see anything. So I feel like a drunk person. I mean, I can't even see on my phone typing when I'm sober. Never mind after a drink, one drink, and I'm incapable of typing hi on my phone. So the question is how much? How much did she drink?
Yeah, she doesn't, yeah, to quantify it. And I think the police try to determine that with, I forgot which witness, the name of the witness Yessie, right? I think I saw parts of that interview.
Okay, Jeff, I don't know. Somebody's hiding comments here. I'm going to have to just review this. Guys, you don't have to hide comments. Anyway, Jeff says here, she could have feared being SA'd. I guess women don't consider this when drunk, if what you're saying is true. Why would she fear that, Jeff? Why would you fear that? But if she feared that, all good and well, I can understand what you're saying, but
why did she not leave then? Leave the house?
Then why didn't you stay in your room and lock the door? This is something that I'm struggling with a little bit. Look, I'm not an attorney. I don't have the qualifications of somebody who is an attorney. I certainly don't have Big Amish's qualifications, but I do have a qualification of common sense, and that is just to say, okay, somebody runs down, right? They've ran down the stairs after killing Kaylee and Maddie. They run into Xana, if this is how it happened, which I don't believe it did. They run into Xana. Not only do they chase Xana to her bedroom, but she's stabbed from the front and the back. So there already you have 2 people. Because I don't know how one person can put a knife in you from the front and the back. That's wild. Okay.
Or
chase you.
Or inflict 160 knife wounds, and not and
yeah,
and
I mean,
not be out of breath.
Imagine you running after Xana. Okay. You do this, you stab her from the front and from the back. She saw the autopsy. Okay. Then not only do you do that, but you go to her boyfriend who's like, not, you've seen Bryan, he's quite a small dude, and he goes over and he attacks Ethan, who we know now wasn't sleeping, but you know, this is the story told to us. He goes over and kills Ethan. Then he leaves and he runs into Dylan, comes face to face with her. So what would make him leave her alive? Why?
Yeah, there's only a couple of possibilities.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
Because what was the rush? What would be the rush to get out of there? I mean, you can just take her out as well. If you did all of that in that short period of time, why not just end her as well and make sure that you don't have anybody as a witness?
Yeah, 100%. And look where we are now. Just like no allocution, you have the reliability on everything.
This is just something that just goes, it seems to, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I mean, people have done things like that, I guess, where, you know, if you ask anybody that, they'll say, no, he was having an adrenaline rush. But then wouldn't that propel him to keep on doing what he was doing?
Yeah, he was able to break out of the frenzy.
Yeah, and think, oh wow, okay, I better get out of here. I set my watch to 7 minutes, right?
Yeah. What?
I was timing myself, guys.
Wait,
I had 7 minutes. Fuck that. I'm out. I'm going to leave a witness that can identify me and my bushy eyebrows. I'm done. I'm out of here.
What's the name of the movie that the guy he plays a role, he's a black actor, not that race matters, but hopefully could identify it. You know what I'm talking about. There's a movie where he sets his watch for like 20-30 seconds, forgot what it is, and he inflicts all this damage on numerous individuals.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes,
And the
that's what I'm
actor.
asking.
But that's what it reminds me of. Say your wife. That's exactly what he did. Commit, and even in the movie, there's at least a lot more DNA all over the place, and he even gets it. So you got less than a movie here.
It's true. ACAB2 True Crime said, I wonder if it was completely made up or if she took some truths and some lies. I think, people convince themselves, if you tell a lie enough times, you can actually make yourself believe that this is what happened. You start to believe it.
Yeah, that's propaganda 101. The bigger the lie, the more times you tell it. You're right.
You kind of live yourself into that story. So were there people in ski masks and black outfits? Well, yeah, there were several of them outside of that house. I believe, just my opinion. Don't hold me to it. Don't know. Was she talking about? She could be talking about anyone. Just something she conjured up in her mind. I don't know, but I do not believe that she came face to face with him, wide awake, and that he walked away. Or let's take Bryan off, because everyone likes to call us pro-burgers, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But let's say it's anybody, right? We're not even talking about Bryan, the real attacker. Okay. She comes face to face with him. And they just leave her and walk.
It's just, because he must have known her and felt bad for her and left her alone.
That won't happen. I mean, I mentioned this before. We had a home invasion in our house, and I know those two guys said they were gonna end our lives. It was me and the lady who was at my house. They broke in and they threw us into the bathroom, and they were debating. They were actually debating with each other whether the one wanted to and the other one said, no, maybe we shouldn't. But they were still going through the house asking, where are your firearms? Where's your money? So I've been a victim of home invasion 3 times in my life, and once where we were robbed on holiday. And I can tell you now, it was scary. And you remember that? I remember people, I think I told you, Big Amish, when they broke in, and I'm making this about me, but I'm saying to you that those guys, I still believe to this day, they would never, ever have left us as a witness. The only thing that saved our life was we ran to the middle gate, locked it, and pressed the panic button and set the alarm off. And when the sirens started going off, then they left.
They panicked as well. They panicked.
They panicked. Yeah. They knew they didn't have time to do anything. But this was in 2004. And what I'm saying to you is they were actually talking to each other, so much so that they were saying, we are going to, one guy was saying, we've got to end them.
Wow. I mean,
Oh, yeah, thanks, guys. No, but don't stress. Look, we're pretty used to that here in South Africa. It's just part of our life.
Used to near-death experiences. Oh
We're
my
very
God.
used to it.
Good thing we
We're
can
so used to it. We actually like desensitized it. But that said, I mean, it happened to my dad when he was still alive. They broke into his offices, right? And these guys also, they wanted firearms. I remember they broke my dad's ribs and they still argued, two of them. And if it wasn't for the security guard that came past and realized something was wrong, I mean, what they did, because they were in a hurry and it was broad daylight, is okay, they just kicked his ribs in and they left. But, it is traumatizing. It is traumatizing. So I'm not going to say that Dylan wasn't traumatized. This is what the point I'm making. I'm not saying that she wasn't traumatized. But if you are so traumatized, right, because when they threw my dad into his office and they locked him in, same with me, the first thing you do, you press a panic button. You get onto your phone, if you've got a phone, and you start phoning. I mean, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that she wasn't traumatized. The point I'm trying to make is
it's sobering. It's sobering. I think that's
if something like that happens to you, even in a country like this where you're so completely desensitized to these things, when that happens to you, you jump on that phone, you press your panic button, and you don't okay, wait, I think I'm going to take an 8-hour tour through social media. And
get out of there.
You want to get
out. Yes, you're not.
You're like, I'm out. Yeah, I'm in South Africa, but I'm in a better area now. We actually stayed in this really, really crappy area, right? And I'm not, guys, we had this was long ago, we had in a space of 9 years, we had eight incidents. Okay, and so we were like, no, we cannot live here anymore. It was a very long time ago. I was young, I was dumb. Area we're staying here is pretty safe. We've had no incidents in many years.
Wow. That is, I mean, what a story. You could write a book. And then we could have Turvey and Cyray analyze it if they could get any cell tower records in the crime. No, I'm only making.
We're in a good area now, so I mean, here we put. But look, even though we're in a good area, what happens here is, and I know it didn't happen in that house, is even though we don't feel terrified all the time, and this is the point I'm making about the media, is they're trying to scare the living daylights out of people. Is everybody in this country, most people, will say, okay, I'm going to lock the middle gates or something. So if your bedroom's on one side of the house, you just because of what happens to you. And I don't know if everyone does it, but I know with me, before we go to bed at night, we lock the middle gate. We'll make sure everything's locked, security gates are locked. We've got the panic button, we've got everything, just in case something happens. You don't think about it too much because, time passes and you do get over it, especially if nobody lost their life. But yeah, Linda, you've got a good point here as well. I mean, this is the thing. Even 5-year-olds know how to call 911. Yes, they do. That is the point.
Oh, I want to thank the Design Rhythm. It was the equalizer. Thank you, Denzel Washington. Sorry to cut you off there.
No.
That was the movie.
Did I miss that?
But your story, I mean, wow. You can't. I mean, that should be a book. Experiencing it 3 times. It really should be a book if you haven't done it.
Actually, before we go on, I'll tell you guys of a miracle, which is a good thing. Hi, Dame Original Sophia. Nice to see you. Yeah, he said that. I also think this 911 call was set up for sure. No, I don't have to carry a permit. No, we're good. I don't have to mean for a firearm. So we were on holiday, right? I'll tell you guys like a miracle story here, and I believe this. We went to sleep, me and my husband, and 4 guys came into the place we were staying. Now, it was our own fault. We left the balcony door open, and for some reason that night, I covered myself with a blanket. And the next morning we wake up, and my husband looked at me and he says, "Where's your phone?" And I said, "It's on the table next to me." And he says, "It's not." So we realized we've been robbed, okay? And oh gosh, they took my phone, they took his phone, they took our cards, our money, they took everything, okay? But what was so strange was there were 4 of them. We saw them on the camera afterwards, right? There were 4 of these guys. And my husband, like me, you can carry my house away. I won't wake up for 2 days. When I sleep, I sleep. But my husband always wakes up. Somebody can just sniff and he's awake. And I can never ever understand, I could never understand that night why he didn't wake up. Because just down the road, there was a similar incident 2 weeks before that. And the guy woke up and they actually stabbed him in the throat. Wow. Similar to this case, right? To break in. And so this was on the South Coast in KZN. And over the years, I wondered, like, how on earth did we sleep through this? Because they pretty much trashed the place and they stole everything. How did my husband not wake up? And I realize now, like over the years, I've come to believe that my guardian angel was watching over us. And for some reason, I believe that my guardian angel made us sleep through that entire, because I mean, they must have made quite a noise getting in and out.
Yeah.
Those were heavy locks on the doors and everything. But for some reason, we were meant to sleep through that. And so thankfully, yes, we were safe. Nothing happened to us or anything. But I mean, like, I don't want to make that about me. I just wanted to tell you guys a miracle story. So always know you also have a guardian angel that watches over you.
Yeah, we all do. You're right. You gotta.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling. Wow, man.
Yeah. So so what I'm saying about that is that you don't fear, but like with Dylan, just going back to what you said. I think any of you, I mean, if you see somebody like an intruder like that, now you might not know that they have done anything to your friends, but Big Amish, if you see somebody in your house, what are you going to do?
Shoot him. I'm going to shoot him. No. Yeah, no. And you're right. I mean, I do go through that exercise. So, not that it's never happened, but, and I don't know if you're ever prepared for it, but you know, what you've gone through, you've had the experience. I've not experienced it, but I do prepare for an event. So.
Yeah, no, us too as well. I mean, but it happens sometimes so quickly that you don't think of
have
that.
time. Yeah.
The first thing you think of is your phone. And that's what I'm saying with Dylan is you get to a phone because your firearm can't assist you or comfort you if you're traumatized. So you get on the phone and you start phoning people. Get over here immediately.
And that's what the youth does anyway. That phone is an extension of themselves. That's more important. They won't even think of a firearm anyway. I don't think. That's second. The phone is the first thing that comes to their mind. Even if they're not threatened, the fact that they feel threatened is actually more the reason you jump on the phone immediately, because that's the access they have to the world, to getting their concern out. So that's how I would look at it. I mean, there's no reason that didn't happen. But
have you seen any youth today that doesn't have their phone in their hand permanently?
No, that happens, and it's, I find it annoying, but because I have my phone on silent, probably 24 hours. I have it on vibrate on occasion, but
I remember you told me.
Yeah, that's just me. I'm old. The phone is, if I see youth or my kids, anybody, if you're having a discussion and you see a preoccupation of the phone, which happens, it is what society is today, but it breaks that human chain, and I don't like it, but it doesn't mean that it's right either.
No, it's because of like the way we grow up. I mean, my phone has been on silent since 1999. Everybody knows. If you want to get hold of me, I tell them, phone my husband and he'll tell me to phone you back, because so let them disturb him, because I don't want to be on my phone the whole weekend. Friday afternoon, 4:00, I put my phone here in the spare room on silent, and the only time I look at it is if I'm listening to something that I want to listen to, and then I mute everything else. I don't have notifications going off, mute everything. And chance of you getting hold of me is slim. If you need me, then phone my husband and I'll phone you back. It's like my own secretary. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the kids are different. They and it's not to shame them. It's the world they've grown up in today. It's like they are used to that. I can't believe that it doesn't freak them out, but they are on their phone all the time. So Dylan said something about her battery was going to die, but that brings up another point. Did she not have a charger in her room?
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, you're right. Everyone has it.
You guys remember the Dame Original, Sophia said the movie was called The Equalizer with Denzel Washington.
Yes, The Equalizer, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check it again.
That's a great series, though. We got to watch it. We're going to all set our clocks. Actually, that they should have done that. And I don't know if they did this in the case, is actually try and reenact the stab wounds and just try in a time-wise and setting a clock, going through the door.
They did, didn't they? Before we go to that, everyone on the chat is kind of agreeing with us. I miss actual answering machines. Yeah, those things were amazing. With the little notepads. And Kelly, just use my intuition to check it. Great. So Big Amish, I don't think we're going to play too much more of Nancy, unless you want to see it. But you're right what you said about they did a test run on the house. If anybody in the chat can verify this. So they said that this could have happened I think they reenacted it.
But who reenacted it? The defense or the prosecution? Or both?
Do you want me to do a check?
No, it's okay. I'm just raising that question. It just, anyone knows. Because I'll look into it.
I don't have it in front of me, but when they did the reenactment, didn't they say that he could have committed this crime in 3 minutes, Kelly. Because I did see that on somebody's channel where they said that. So they reenacted the crime itself, not the drive test, the actual crime.
Wow. Okay. Well, there I'm gonna search for that. 'Cause I'm just curious who they used, you know, and the timing of every strike.
Yeah.
I just want. I'm
I
just
could be
curious.
wrong, but that is something I did hear. Kelly says it's 11 minutes. They said it took 11 minutes. I just heard somewhere, so I don't know if this is true. That's what I'm saying. I'll have to go and check on it. But they came up with some ridiculous figure of saying that this could have happened in under 3 minutes. Now, I don't know what your thoughts is on that.
Yeah. Well, when they say they could do it in 3 minutes, are they showing an actual reenactment step by step? Because that's more important than an illustration. If you remember, like the OJ, they showed an illustrative reenactment, right? And I don't know if the time, you know, there was no time stamps on anything. But if the prosecution's doing it, you know that they're hiding the ball if they do something like that. If there's no timestamps and a reenactment that second for second is laying out the strikes and where his movement is, which if they did would provide the defense plenty of material to destroy, in opinion. I think if this was a reenactment, it was by an AI developed a generated reenactment, but I could be wrong. I'm just guessing. But the last thing the prosecution would want is to nail itself down to a specific timeline and how it was done. So that's the only caveat I say. That's why I asked about the reenactment. If they did it, I certainly want to look at it because, and I'm sure they're going to have a reservation that this is only one of possible scenarios within the time frame. They must have something to
Okay,
provide.
I've got something here. Okay. It says here, I just checked some. It says, yes, according to, let me read this. Yes, according to unsealed state police documents, investigators mathematically proved the entire attack could have been carried out in as little as 90 seconds. Listen to this, 90 seconds to 3 minutes.
in a dark house. Never been there before.
Okay. So they say while the total window of the time Bryan Kohberger was physically at the house spanned roughly 13 to 16 minutes. You see, Kelly, they keep changing that timeline as well.
Yes,
between 4:04 and 4:20 a.m. And this was something interesting because if Dylan said somebody was in the house just before 4 a.m., that's if you read the ISP document, she said she heard Kaylee crying. Okay, this was before 4 a.m., right?
Yes.
Then who was in the house?
I lost you.
Okay, so
you're back.
They say while the total window,
they
say here, while the total window of time Bryan Kohberger was physically at the house spanned roughly 13 to 16 minutes, okay, between 4:04 a.m. and 4:20 a.m., the actual time spent committing the murders was much faster. But if you look at the ISP documentation, then
he was probably having a conversation and having a cigarette first.
Yeah, so Dylan said she woke up before that. So who was in the house? Did he go in, make him a coffee? I don't know.
Is that the Asian girl, the student? Is her name Kaylee as well, but spelled differently? Is that who it was? I think there's someone
No.
else.
No, I don't know. I don't know because this is what Dylan said. I mean, she said that she woke up and heard Kaylee playing with Murphy. This was before Kohberger even entered the house,
right.
apparently.
Yeah.
So who is in the house? Okay, then they say here, how it happened so fast. Investigative details from people's crime reports and unsealed records explain why the timeline was compressed. They say the third floor, Maddie and Kaylee, Kohberger went straight to the top floor. And they say Madison, Morgan, and Katie Gonzalez were asleep. Okay, so she evidently stopped playing with her dog then in the same bed because they were caught completely off guard. So he said, they say he killed both girls in rapid succession within seconds. Okay, but given what happened, like Nancy says, stabbed her teeth out of her mouth. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Then moved down to the second floor where Xana was awake, having just received the DoorDash order and fought back. Okay, so that took me longer than 90 seconds to read that.
Let alone commit the crimes.
So they're saying here, even with Xana's defensive struggle, the entire second floor encounter lasted roughly 1 to 2 minutes before the killer exited past surviving roommate Dylan. But are we not told that Kaylee also fought back?
Yeah, I believe you're right. She did have wounds because she had most of the wounds, but some of them were defensive. Right, Xana's fingers were almost cut off, showing that one. But I think yeah, that's my understanding as well. Oh, and by the way, I got a hard cut off in 5 minutes.
Okay.
I got a text.
No, we're all going to probably leave in a few minutes.
Okay.
So, okay, before we do that, go back to here. All right. Before Big Amish goes, Satan was in the house, no doubt. But yeah, Linda also said at the very beginning, Dylan said she couldn't sleep because of the other roommate's noise. She opened the door and shouted. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. How are we getting a story that they're sleeping?
Oh.
And Design Rhythm, you're right, because she did say that she heard Kaylee in the living room, not upstairs. So, yeah, no.
What the prosecution did is mishmash, because she has several interviews, right? And that's the ones we know of. Were there more? So, and to create the timeline, whatever they wanted. So that's the problem is the prosecution credits whatever they want to establish the timeline, even though it doesn't make sense. It's not reliable. So that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand how. Look, and everybody is free to disagree with us, but they'll call us morons because we're questioning these things.
Yeah. There's never a dumb question. Never. Because you always gotta question everything, especially in this case. If you don't question it, that's in which world does a statement from Dylan Mortensen, other than the state of Idaho, but Dylan Mortensen's interviews, numerous interviews, the full extent of which we don't know, provide the basis of probable cause. When, because this is Ann Taylor, I remember Ann Taylor arguing this, when if the sole issue and then the sole basis of the DNA, touch DNA, is from that sheath, which has its own issue, but you have male B, I remember it was B and D, 2 male blood samples that were obtained from the crime scene, which is not skin cells, the actual blood. There was more DNA of male B and D on the crime scene than Bryan Kohberger.
Yeah, right.
Right, and that was never used during the probable cause determination, or I'm sorry, in the yeah, when it was being reviewed. I forgot which judge was reviewing that, but there was more evidence of male B and D that you have probable cause with, even than Bryan Kohberger.
Yeah,
Right. That's the problem. That's the problem. But so, and there's silence. There's crickets regarding who male B and D is. Do we know any further? What investigation was to determine who male B and D was? That's what I would like to know. And maybe that's what's in the Fed documents. And it might lead to.
Oh, thank you, ACAB True Crime. It was nice having you. Enjoyed taking your cats. Oh, so cute.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Sorry, Big Amish.
No. That's all I had to say about it's just what investigation was to determine male B and D identity. That's what I want to know. And was it done? And if it was done, we know who did it. It's the feds who have that information.
I can't wait to see what comes out of that information.
Yeah. Also, and I'm gonna look. I'll watch the Netflix series. So, is it released weekly? How is that done? I mean, I have Netflix, but I really don't even watch it much.
It's all. I think all the episodes are on already.
So you can watch the whole series if you wanted to.
You can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not released like weekly or something. Okay.
Not as far as I know. I think all the episodes are there.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being a great host and always special time spending together and in the chat.
Thank you so much, Big Amish. We really appreciate you. Thank you for answering all my questions. I know a lot of them might seem a little silly.
Not at all. No, there's never a silly question. If anything, it helps me. I've been sitting I'm basically doing nothing for a while now, years, if not a decade, almost. But so this is very helpful. Helps regenerate some of the brain cells.
I think everybody appreciates having you here.
Well, I appreciate that.
That's a lot of insight to this, and I think everybody agrees with your thoughts, because everything you've predicted has happened.
Well, part of that is luck, I'm sure, but
I think
we could look at. That's very kind of you, Wendy. And I do want to thank the chat as well. That's very kind. Your insight is very helpful. Clearly, I have gaps, and you certainly cover those when I raise questions. And you're very helpful because you're able to spot what I'm discussing, maybe on a legal term, in my opinion. But you certainly cover it foundationally with facts or videos or other basis in the case. So I really appreciate that because it helps balance what I'm saying and allows me to.
Thank you. Yeah, we do learn a lot from the chat. So thank you, guys. We really appreciate you because, well, wherever we're wrong, sometimes the chat pulls us in on all that missing information. So we really do appreciate you guys watching.
Yes. Thank you, Bluebird, Linda. We got Design Rhythm, obviously misleading evidence, special. And who else we have? I'm looking now with my glasses. Design Rhythm, I said. Linda.
No,
okay.
Jeff is still here. I don't know if Lucy's still here. I know some people hop in and out. Whoever's here. Thank you. Oh, Kelly, I got your other mail. I'll chat with you tomorrow. And then maybe I can cover that because you also sent me a bombshell video. So that's another one. But we're going to let Big Amish run out.
Thank you. Love and peace to all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Up to you, Big Amish. Bye-bye. All right, guys. Do you have any other questions? Anything else before we sign off? Yeah, we are really lucky to have Big Amish. Hey, wow. Everything that he predicted, even in our chats, has actually happened the way he said it would. So yeah, we can look at that video as well, Kelly. That's going to be quite interesting. I thought that was a woman from UK. What time is good for you, Kelly? I'm just going to check my work day tomorrow. It could be. I'll make an appointment. I just want to check what my work has in store for me tomorrow. All right, but we'll chat for sure. So thank you, everyone. Let's just see who's in here. If I missed anybody, well, obviously, thank you to Big Amish for sure, and to all of you. Okay, I can't see the whole chat. But anyway, okay. I have no idea, Kelly. But whatever he has knowledge of is brilliant. He's pretty spot on. So I don't know what field of work he was in. I have no idea. I think he's probably has to keep it private for some reason. But that's fine. Okay, yes, you are 6 hours behind me, so it's almost 8 p.m. here. Guys, just before I go, can you hear my sound okay? This room that I'm in is pretty hollow. Hopefully I'll get a better microphone that plugs in. But okay, thank you, everyone. I'm going to get running, and yeah, I'll see you all maybe tomorrow, or there is an email in the description. I don't know if you guys want me to start a Discord or not. Some of you are on Discord as well. I don't know. We can. But, oh, pleasure, Linda. Thank you so much. I'm not really much of a content creator, but anyways, you know, I just want to cover this case. Could be, Kelly. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and just keep a look on the post, and I'll post when I'm going live. Sometimes I do always schedule it a few hours before I go, so you will see it under the live section, or I'll put a post out. All right. Thank you to all of you. Bye.